cigars all around. Cheers, y'all.
Well.
Holy crap.
Hey, it's number 200. We had to go for a long one there. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to this fine program known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. We are so glad to have you on board with us for show number 200. It's a huge extravaganza. We're expecting 40 or 50 guests. They're all No, wait, that's not going to happen.
That's not the way it's working.
But that was the plan, though, until, COVID came along. But I figure, if the worst thing that has happened to us so far from the pandemic is that we had to postpone our bicentennial celebration, then we're probably doing okay.
That's true.
Others have taken it much tougher. We actually thought we might not get to do show number 200 today. We thought it might get postponed to next week because watching the weather over the past 48 hours, it looked like a hurricane was headed right for us. And Ian has a nice tall truck, but my car sits pretty low to the ground. And we've already gotten rained out of one show, if you remember, back about a year or so ago.
Yeah, I do remember that.
It was nuts. We had so much rain. Or was it during Harvey? Maybe it was during Harvey.
No, that was actually earlier this year, wasn't it?
Maybe it was. I remember.
That was pre-COVID, but I think it was this year or late last year. But it was bad because I made it to Casa, and then it started raining.
Yep.
And then you called me, you're like, I can't make it.
Yeah.
Then I had to try and figure out a way home. It took me like an hour to do a 20-minute drive.
I was halfway here from my house, and I had to pull over to take a phone call. So I pulled under this gas station that had a top, that had a roof over the pumps. And I sat there taking my phone call and watched the water in the parking lot start rising up to the bottom of the pumps. I'm like, I got to get home.
Yeah.
There's no way.
And your car's low to the ground. You got that sporty little car.
Yeah, it's not good for puddle jumping, I can tell you that.
It's
so
nice for sunny days.
Yes,
and
nice
and
to
driving along the beach.
It's nice to smoke a cigar in too because you can put the top down.
So jealous.
Yeah, that part is.
I just need
awesome.
to drive until I have like 100,000 miles on my truck, and then I can start smoking cigars.
Right.
In it.
Then your wife will say, it's got a lot of miles. Go ahead. Well, show number 200 is here, and so we thought that since we can't do the big extravaganza that we'd originally planned for 200, that we'd actually go the other way and just do a very kind of a low-key show. Maybe you and I can talk about some of the favorite things that we remember from past shows.
Favorite guests?
Yeah, favorite guests, favorite things.
You know what? I like all our guests.
I do too, but there's been some standouts. So I'm sure you'll think of a few of those as we go through the day here. Our program has been dealing with craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars for 199 episodes plus one. The plus one is the lost episode.
The lost episode.
The one that our original producer decided was too bitter to to air, and unbeknownst to us, he never posted the episode.
That was frustrating.
It was before we were doing video, before we were live, and we were frustrated. I was frustrated because we were going to have to change our name because the show was originally called, if you may remember, Sip, Smoke, and Savor. And
that sounds like a company that does chocolates and pretzels.
chocolate covered strawberries maybe, and delivers them to people.
And cigars
in San Diego. Yeah, they didn't send us any kind of legal cease and desist. They contacted us on Facebook and said, "It's great that we had a hobby."
Oh, super condescending.
Yeah, it's great that we had a hobby, but they were a business, and we needed to stop using.
I need
name.
to see if I still have that. I bet I have that.
That got me worked up. So, in the show where we talked about having to change our name, I will admit I was a little bit.
Oh, we were both pretty bitter. You were spitting venom though.
But I didn't.
And
think
it's
it was
okay. I
didn't think it was
there too.
unairable.
It was all right.
Adam would have gone, "This is my favorite show," and posted it twice. But no, our last producer never posted, and then we didn't even find that out for a while. Excuse me. Sometimes I'll go back and listen to the shows, a little bit of them, make sure everything sounded okay. But in that particular case, I hadn't gone back and listened to it, and we didn't find out, I think, for a couple of weeks that he never posted it.
Well, I think that what happened was the week after I said, hey, my brother called me and said he couldn't find the newest show.
Oh, right.
And that's when we were sitting here. We were about to go on. And he goes, "Oh, yeah, I didn't post that one." And he did. He said it in such a way it was like, yeah, as a matter of fact, whatever.
And this was before we were doing the show live on Facebook and before we were doing video. It was just audio back at that point. I don't know. It must have been around show number 35 or 40.
Yeah,
or
so it
something.
wasn't because we were making funny
Yeah.
faces.
Right. It was just an arbitrary decision. And in fact, we never even found the show to post it. So it remains the great lost episode. So that wasn't one of the favorite memories I was thinking of, but it was, sure, thank you. Ian's pulling out show beers here, and he's brought the St. Arnold Oktoberfest. A show beer is what Ian and I will have sometimes because A, it's beer, and B, we're thirsty, and C, maybe got to get the palate going for the show, for the things that
Yeah,
we'll
the
taste.
palate primer, if you will.
And I have a feeling, since Ian just handed me, and thank you, one of our absolute favorite seasonals, the St. Arnold Oktoberfest. I have a feeling this will be, by a long shot, the lowest ABV beer that I have on the show today. Because Ian's brought the beers for show 200.
You, well, see, what happens is, since you cut me off from bringing all the beers,
Right.
and this is a trust issue, and I understand I may warrant this because I've been known to bring chunky, high ABV beers and Malort.
When your first beer, because we usually start with the lightest, when your first beer is like 9% ABV,
Yeah.
it's you know it's gonna go.
So what happens is, when you starve me of bringing all my good beers, and I still have a whole bunch of them
Because
sitting.
you have a beer fridge.
So now they've aged and they've mellowed, and they've,
And perhaps become even more chunky.
maybe. But so today you might have a show where this might be the lowest ABV beer on the
I'm
list.
certain that it will, but you know what?
And
I
by
appreciate
might be,
it.
I mean definitely.
I appreciate it, and I love it. Smokin' and Toastin' is brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com, featuring the coolest shirts for cigar fans, all under $20. Grab them for yourself or anybody you know that loves cigars at MyCigarShirts.com.
You can't hurry up and smoke a cigar. That's my favorite shirt on there.
It's a great one, and there's a number of really cool cigar shirts with. The
One of my
sayings
friends
about
asked
that.
me. He goes, "Did they really get that quote from you?" I was like, "Yes,
Yes, they really did.
yes,
Well,
they
you know,
really did."
they're fans of the show and they're supporting the show, so it's a good thing, all in all, right?
I told him to expect some more things to pop up.
Oh, good. See, this is
Like I want to submit the design. I have one that just says the whiskey hug on the front,
yeah,
and on the back it says it's awkward.
yeah. See, that'd be a great
Like
shirt.
I think I would buy it.
That'd be a great shirt. Well, we do hope you guys go to MyCigarShirts.com and make a purchase. They are supporting the show, so we encourage you to support them. It's not, a show like this. It's difficult to sometimes be able to promote it and find sponsors for it because they go, oh, we can't sponsor a show that promotes drinking and smoking. Even Facebook won't take our ads. They still allow us to stream the show live, which is great.
Yeah.
And I don't want to bitch too much about it, but yeah, if we decide to run an ad, they won't let us run an ad for Smoking and Toasting because
It's smoking and
it's
toasting.
Smoking and Toasting. Yeah,
Yeah.
we had planned to run some ads back when we did the first whiskey sniff, and they were rejected by Facebook. I imagine Mark.
Well, this kind of bowls back, I think, to the whole nanny state idea, and Facebook is very much about like they don't want to be a part of anything that might have something legal going on.
Yes, they're trying desperately to keep the lawsuits down.
And like if we put out an ad for Smoking and Toasting, they could be construed as trying to sell it to kids.
We should come up with our own.
I don't think kids use Facebook anymore.
We should come up with our own protest group. Because sometimes when a group protests you, it draws more attention to what you're doing. And so, what if we came up with a group called Mothers Against Smoking and Toasting?
Masked?
Yeah, something like that. Masked. I like it. We're just spitballing here, but I like it. That could totally work. Anyway, check out MyCigarShirts.com. You will love the shirts on there. So it's show number 200. It's happy birthday to us. Really, I guess it's anniversary, but what the hell? We'll call it birthday. And we want to thank...
This is our bicentennial
It is.
show.
But the bicentennial celebration we'll do whenever it's okay.
We will do
for us to-
Bicentennial in Exile at some point
Yes.
in the near future.
It'll be fun.
It
I'm
will be
looking forward to it.
ridiculous.
It'll be way over the top. I want to thank Trey Boring, our legal expert, for being on the show last week.
He's so awesome.
Bringing us up to speed on the latest in the legal. We do have a little bit of an update on that stuff. We'll give you that later on in the show today. And also want to thank everybody who joined us on Saturday afternoon for our third Smokin' and Toastin' virtual Smoke Fest on Zoom.
Also
it was
blast.
a blast. I polished off my bottle of the Glenfiddich IPA cask whiskey, which I just absolutely love. And so I polished that off. It was a special show. Polished that off and smoked an AJ Fernandez. It was great.
So just a funny little story from that. My brother, Dan, logged on, and he wasn't smoking a cigar because he lives in Arizona and it was 90 degrees
Right.
outside. So he sat inside and he had whiskey with us. But while he was doing that, he's one of these hands can't be idle.
Mm-hmm.
So he grabbed his sharpening plates and started sharpening his chisels for woodworking,
Yes,
nice
yes.
high-end
Yeah.
woodworking chisels. But all you could see was the bust up. And so he was making this back and forth motion. And my wife logged on and missed the part where he said, "Hey, guys, just so you know, I'm sharpening chisels here. That's what I'm doing. Like, it's not weird."
It might have looked like he was doing something else.
And she's sitting there, and we're all talking, and she texts me. She's like, Dan looks like he's masturbating. And I didn't see the text. So she's sitting over there wondering what's going on because she got in a little late and she's doing this thing. And finally she texts my brother and I look over and they start laughing and he moves the camera so she can see, oh, yeah, no, I'm sharpening chisels. And they were just cracking up about that.
It was a fun call. We got to compare what everybody was smoking.
Yeah.
And Bruce gave us a well, which was awesome.
He did. It was an awesome well.
We told him you got to record it and send it. We want to play your well.
He said he's going to work on that. He's going to send it to us.
All right.
And if you're out there listening, by the way, record and send us your wells. You can send it to us via Facebook or smokingandtoasting@gmail.com.
Mm-hmm.
We want to put your wells on the show.
That'd be fun. I shouldn't be doing it every single week,
Yeah, well, you want to.
Please replace
golden,
me.
Those are golden voice.
It is a little rough on the
you got
pipes.
the golden
to do
voice
it.
box there. You want to make sure that you don't.
So we mentioned that the show almost didn't happen today, or so we thought maybe a couple of days ago.
It was a little in there.
It looked like Hurricane Laura. I started to say President Laura. It looked like Hurricane Laura was headed maybe straight for us. We do want to send our best thoughts and prayers and well wishes out to the people of eastern Louisiana or western Louisiana who took the brunt of it as it came ashore. But here in Houston, which is where the show originates, we actually have sunny skies with a few white fluffy clouds. It's pretty amazing. It's like one of the nicest days we've had.
It's beautiful, and it's not even brutally hot.
I know. It's really nice. So here we are. It's show number 200. I have no idea what beers we're going to taste today because Ian has them in his cooler and has so far not revealed what we are.
Do you want me to reveal?
Well,
do you want me to do
we
this?
We could just go one at a time if you want. It's up to you. You want to give a preview, or you want to wait until the unveiling in each segment?
Oh, we can do a preview of a few here.
Okay.
I'll keep a couple for fun here.
Mm-hmm.
But I went local on a couple of these. Now I want to point out that everything
I hear a lot of clanking in there.
Everything we're doing in here today, minus one beer, is actually a gift.
Oh, someone gave them to you.
Yeah, so my friend Josh, the one that I always have to describe the labels for,
right? Because
gave me some of these.
He listens to the show rather than watching.
He listens all the time. He's a huge fan. And then my other friend Jeff gave me one of these, and then I brought one. We got a few things to try here. So one of them.
Will this be the first one?
No.
Of course.
Let me see.
Of course, you didn't start with the first. Of course, you went right to the Big Daddy.
Well, one of these. Okay, so this is the. Sorry, I got my big old cooler here in a way, but this is the Cortado from Brash Brewing.
Brash is a Houston brewery. They're
known for their light, fluffy, gentle beers.
Yes, exactly.
No, they're not. They're called Brash for a reason.
Yes. Well, I went out to Brash. There was a band playing that one of the guys that works in my wife's office was in. They were doing some sort of a show out there at Brash. The name of the band, by the way, is Mr. Plow, which is one of the greatest Simpsons references ever. Anyway, we went out to see them and enjoyed the music, and then I kept getting back in line and trying all the different Brash beers. I think my wife had to drive home. It was pretty fun though. We had a good time. It was hot though. I'll tell you, they're one of the typical breweries where the air conditioning is called "open up the sliding doors."
Yeah, it's a warehouse. It's
Yes,
just
exactly.
big and open, and it's a beautiful, wonderful warehouse too because it's lined with like classic video games.
Yeah. Well, what is this Brash beer that you have brought for us
So this is the
today?
Cortado, and this is a what says it on here somewhere? It's a coffee stout.
Mm.
And in typical, Imperial coffee stout, and in typical Brash style, it's brutal.
Yeah, well, I will look forward to that. There's
So
nothing more exciting than a good brutal
and
coffee stout.
These two friends didn't talk to each other. The other one that was brought for me is also from Brash.
Oh, so it's a double brash day. Well, that's good.
So we have Vulgar Display of Power.
Wow. Now, what is that?
Russian Imperial Stout brewed with vanilla bean.
Oh, yum.
And this one, well, you don't want to know the percentage.
Well, you'll have to tell me when.
This is one from the archives that this is the last one I
Ooh,
have.
look at that.
It's going to be so good. This is the Weyerbacher Quad. We've had this on the show before, but I can't wait to see what it tastes like after it's been sitting in there for. This was brewed in 1118.
In the year 1118 is when it was brewed?
14.
It was brewed in 2014, seriously?
Yes.
Wow, that's been cellaring for a while.
That's been cellaring for a while.
Okay.
Now I have
We'll look forward to that.
the DR13.
Oh, nice.
And this is a
we
Belgian quadruple or triple. I can't remember which one.
We found out when Lenny was on the show that they're not really doing the Divine Reserve
that's
right
the
now.
end of the Divine Reserve for the moment.
So, yeah.
And then I got a Divine Reserve 15. Now, the Cortada and these two Divine Reserves were from my friend Josh. The other one was from my friend Jeff. And I brought the Weyerbacher Quad and the Oktoberfest. So we're going to have a little bit of fun with it.
We'll have some fun for show number 200. And I don't think we'll be slouching in the spirits area either, because I brought, and he's running round and round on Mr. Twirly gig today. I brought a really, what I think is going to be a really interesting bottle. As you can see, Ian, I managed to keep myself from cracking the seal on this baby. So this will be a first-time taste for me and for you as well, I think. This is the 80 Laws 4-grain bottled in bond bourbon. It came highly recommended, and this basically what they do is they take their regular juice, but it has to age. Of course, it has to meet all the bottled in bond requirements. It has to all be from the same year, but it has to
all
age
from the same distillery, I believe.
Right, yeah.
All from the same year,
and it has to age in a bottled in bond approved warehouse that is actually checked on and monitored by the people who check on and monitor these things, and so it has to age, I believe, for 3 years. So the juice is just old enough now that this has just come out. So I'm excited about trying it. It should be.
That should be pretty awesome.
Yeah, some interesting things in the news today. I mentioned that we'll update you. There's just a little more action on the legal front with cigars. We'll talk today about an article that I ran across that highlights 5 exceptional blends as cigar makers master their craft. So that should be fun to run down the list. And speaking of lists, I think we're going to enjoy this one because I think there'll be some surprises in it. I have today a list of the most Googled beer by state.
The most Googled beer by state?
Right. So if you were to go to Google and type in, I'm just making it up, St. Arnold, that would count as St. Arnold for Texas, since you're in Texas. And so what they basically have done is they've looked at all the searches for different brands of beer and different breweries, and they have compiled a list of, if you're just going by the search engine numbers, what are the most popular or most sought after or the most searched beers by state. So
that should be interesting.
I think that'll be a fun list to go through. Yep. We'll have a report for you on the state of the craft beer industry as it rolls through pandemic times, and maybe if we have time to get to everything, the world's most underrated whiskeys according to the experts.
So, I love that. Sounds like
so that sounds like good. Oh, by the way, there's a new report that just came out that talks about how even though drinking and alcohol consumption is up during the COVID pandemic, there's a particular category of alcohol that sales are down, way down. Care to guess what it is?
Category of
so think about it.
Liquor,
whiskey, rum, vodka, all the spirits would all be their own individual categories.
Liqueur, maybe?
Beer, no, liqueur. Wine. It actually is wine, but it's sparkling wine, bubbly wine.
Oh.
Consumption is down. And if you think about it, it does make sense because even though I still enjoy buying a bottle of sparkling. In fact, we have sparkling pretty regularly.
Yeah.
At,
You
at
have
our
a
house.
favorite one that you
Yep.
talked about a few.
Have a favorite that's not too expensive, and then a couple of favorites if we want to spend a little more. But so we haven't really slowed down on that at my house. But guess what has slowed down? This will make total sense. Weddings, bar mitzvahs,
events,
parties,
just
where they're not
events.
just buying a bottle or two, they're buying cases.
Yeah.
And so many of those things have been canceled. So you've seen,
and it's all through the summer months where that would be
exactly
the most popular.
So
times.
you've seen sales plummet in that area. So we will encourage you now. Take care of the sparkling wine makers. Go out and buy some bubbly. We got to do our part to keep people in business here and get through this thing. We will have drinking news today, and yeah. Oh, that was sounding good. Have you been working on our drinking news jingle?
No, I just thought I'd toss it in.
Oh well, I liked it. So it's been an interesting 200 shows now, Ian. And I'm looking forward to maybe reminiscing a little bit about what some of our favorite moments have been. But we both had a crazy week. A hurricane was on the way. Then it went to the east of us, and yet I still found time to smoke something fairly interesting, and I'm guessing you did too.
I did. Let me tell you all about, at very great length,
Yes.
what I smoked this morning.
Okay.
So last night I was tired. I didn't get outside. It was a little windy outside my house, and I was busy doing random other stuff. So I figured, you know what, I'll get up this morning and I'll go sit on my patio. And
I brought all my patio furniture in, which was, of course, not necessary. But
I know that guy, patio furniture.
Yeah, patio furniture. Yeah. I hung out with him for St. Patrick's Day.
He's a nice guy. So anyway,
I did not like his friend, however, Pat McGroin. That guy I didn't want to hang out with too much. So anyway, I've totally derailed you. Usually you do that to me. See, and that. Yeah, usually you do that to me,
awesome.
So I'm returning the.
That was a joke grenade. That one took a minute to. I was like, Pat. Oh, now I get it.
Oh yeah.
So I went out today, and my wife asked me yesterday while we were having dinner. She goes, "So, do you have a special cigar you're going to review?" And I hadn't thought about it. I was like, well, I guess I should, huh? It's the 200th episode. Let's review something special. So I did something really fun. I'm a little sentimental when it comes to gifts. You know, if you give me something, I'm probably going to keep it. You know, I'm not one of those, this is junk, I'll toss it, or I'm never going to use this. I usually end up keeping it. But a year ago, 2 years ago maybe, I can't remember when it was. It was a while back. We were hanging out at Boss Cat with Christopher Hart.
Mm-hmm. Our smoking toast and whiskey expert,
yes.
who is also the host of Whiskey Neat.
Yes. And we were hanging out with him, and he gave us a cigar. He gave us a Robert Duran signature cigar. And he's like, tell me what you think of this. Well, I have been sitting on it for a special occasion, and I haven't smoked it.
And so special occasion has arrived.
200th episode cigar review.
So you've had it in the humidor for at least a year, because that was a while
ago.
At
least, yeah. So it's been sitting in there mellowing. This is a beautiful cigar. It comes with this great full-length wrapper on it. I think it originally came in a coffin. When I looked it up, it looks like it came in a coffin, and then it had the full-length wrapper, and then you had the cigar in there. But I can understand why he's not walking around with cigar coffins in his pocket, because that sucks.
Exactly.
So anyway, this is Ecuadorian Habano Carrillo wrapper. Binder is Nicaragua, and filler is Nicaragua and other Latin American tobaccos. So Solomon, a beautiful cigar, like absolutely gorgeous to look at. Solomon 7.25 by 57. The appearance
comes wrapped nicely too.
The full-length signature sleeve. The light brown wrapper, smooth, very few veins, medium firmness to the whole thing. I mean, just a beautiful cigar, like one of those. You look forward, when you're holding this in your hand, you look forward to lighting it. The pre-light sniff, light coffee, sweet baking spice, cocoa at the foot. And when I talk about the foot of the cigar, I talk about the end that you're going to light. And sometimes because the tobacco's exposed there, you get stronger flavors or stronger scents from that section. So at the foot, definitely got a little bit of cocoa. The pre-light draw, I used a clip. It was an effortless draw. Fruit cake and sweet baking spices, hints of coffee and cocoa and pepper, all going on with that cigar. The initial burst of baking spices with pepper and a sweet background to it. This was a beautiful initial light on a cigar. I mean, it tasted great right off the bat. There was no harshness, but there was a big burst of flavor, and it was really nice. The first third of this, pepper remained at the initial intensity that it came in on the light. It remained. It wasn't super strong on the light, but it remained. And it had the addition of like fruitcake and cocoa with a sweetness on it that just went throughout the cigar that was absolutely delicious.
Nice.
Finished with coffee, like a coffee aftertaste, a little bit of dryness to it that was real nice. The second third of this, the sweetness increased. Natural tobacco flavors coming through. Cedar started making an appearance at the beginning of this first third of the cigar, and then just ramped up all the way through this third of the cigar. It was really, really awesome because that cedar dryness at the end of the flavor was really nice. The pepper and cocoa mixed with sweet coffee was through there, and a little bit of fruitcake undertone all the way through this that added that kind of little dark fruity sweetness to it. The last third of the cigar, cedar and pepper dominate with sweet coffee and chocolate finish. I mean, these are flavors that I adore in a cigar. Like, this was an outstanding
It sounds incredibly complex.
Yeah,
is the way you're
cigar.
describing
Yeah, it had a lot going on. It was a lot of fun. I had it with some tea, just like unsweetened iced tea, which I find goes really well with them. I looked it up online. This is about a $25 cigar.
Yeah, it's a little pricey.
And at a $25 cigar, I'm going to give it a 5. It was that kind of good.
Well, a 5 is a huge rating for a cigar
Yes.
that costs $25.
I mean, you get that $25 out of it. I enjoyed it $25 worth, and it was wonderful. But this was a gift.
Yeah, right.
And at a gift price, oh, this was a 10, baby.
No, I hear you. It was one of the great differences between you and myself. I was there with you at Boss Cat.
Yeah.
When Chris Hart gave you the cigar, and he gave me one as well.
Yes.
A year and a half, 2 years later, you smoked yours for show number 200 as a special commemorative event. I think I smoked mine the next day. It was good, though. I don't think I realized it was a $20 cigar. So that's
well, I looked it up, and a box of 5 of them was $125.
Wow. Well,
So
there you
it
go.
was a $25 cigar if you buy a box of 5. It might be more if you're buying singles. I don't know, but
Yeah, wow. Well, I do remember it being outstanding. So that's a great review. I love it. So not that often we review a $25 cigar here on the show. I certainly didn't spend that much on the cigar that I am going to talk about for this week. But it is a very interesting cigar from a small, very boutique cigar company called Curivari. It is their Buenaventura D7. And I will tell you that I used to smoke these cigars quite a lot. Before I moved into the building where I live now, which is in downtown, I lived over, literally, it took me 2.5 minutes in my car to get to Casa de Monte Cristo, which at that time was Serious Cigars. I mean, I just, boom, and I was there. So I was in there all the time. And I started smoking these because they were relatively inexpensive, and I was looking for a good, just kind of everyday that wasn't too pricey, and developed a real fondness for them. And then, it's just like so many things, I hadn't smoked one in a long time. And the last time I was in Casa and picked up a handful of cigars, I grabbed one, and it's been sitting in my humidor. And as I went to the humidor looking for something very special to smoke, like what you did, I looked in all of my real special occasion cigars, anything that I'd really been saving, I've kind of already smoked and talked about on the show. So I thought, well, you know what, this will be fun. We'll just go.
That is an industry hazard, by the way.
Yes, it is, and this is not a complaint. I'm okay with it, but it's. So I went back to the Curivari. It's the Buenaventura D7. It's a nice looking dark brown cigar.
That's beautiful.
The appearance,
Understated.
very old school, box press, smooth, very nice. Like I said, I used to smoke these regularly, but I haven't had one in a while. So while I smoked this, I went and looked up a little information about it because back when I had smoked them more regularly, I had never really researched what it was all about. So here's what I found. It's a Nicaraguan Puro. So all of the tobacco comes from Nicaragua. It does come from several different regions of Nicaragua, but it's all Nicaraguan. The pre-light sniff and draw didn't really reveal too much. Light tobacco aromas and a little bit of cedar. But once I lit it up, I got a really nice initial blast of Nicaraguan pepper, not quite as pronounced as a lot of the Nicaraguans I smoke. That some of them really have that boom right away, that pepper blast. I got it, but it wasn't quite as pronounced on this cigar. It settled into a nice combination of cedar and nut flavors. Roasted peanuts is how I would describe the nut flavor, which is an awesome. I love roasted peanuts. It's awesome. A little bit of tea leaf. There was an earthiness to the palate, and then a kind of a graham cracker aroma on the retrohale.
I
is
love
the best
that.
way I could describe it. So very, very nice. It was creamy, produced a nice volume of smoke. Construction was really near perfect. I mean, it didn't burn razor sharp, but didn't need any tending. Didn't have to think about it too much. I was able to just kind of sit and enjoy it. The graham cracker flavor kind of gave way to more of a baking spice in the last third, and those are kind of similar flavors anyway. When I think of graham crackers, I think of that flavor from the top of the cracker that's almost like a baking spice flavor. That's what it sort of evolved into. Strength did ramp up a little bit in the final third. Overall, I'd say it was medium-bodied. I wouldn't even say medium to full, just a dead-on medium. Maybe not quite as strong as some of the Nicaraguans that I usually smoke, which are more medium full to full. In any case, it did smoke fairly quick, but not too hot. Now, in fairness, it was yesterday. I was outside. The winds were picking up a little bit, so
It was a little windy yesterday.
Yeah, it wasn't it wasn't so bad that I couldn't enjoy the smoke, but that may have made it burn a little faster just from the air circulation.
Your patio is up high, so you don't get a lot of break from the wind.
That's
when it
correct.
happens,
If there's wind, I feel it. Anyway, the Buenaventura is a $5 to $6 cigar, meaning that I could smoke 5 of these for what the cigar that you that you. So I'm going to give it also a solid 5 price to quality. At $5 to $6, it was just very enjoyable. Really should probably rate it a little higher, but I feel like I keep giving everything more than a 5. So, but it was really enjoyable. Not like crazy complex like some of the AJ Nicaraguans that I like to smoke, but just very kind of a no-nonsense cigar, I guess is a good way that I would describe it. And sometimes that's what you want. And definitely a bit of a departure for me, especially for a Nicaraguan. So.
Well, it's much like the whiskey you choose or the beer that you choose. Sometimes you're going to sit down and you're going to enjoy something really complex and interesting.
Right.
And then there's times where you go, you know what? I just want a beer.
Right.
Or I just want a cigar.
Right. And sometimes you want a, something that is very old and single malt, and sometimes you just want a Maker's Mark, because that's a good, solid, great tasting drink. So anyway, I recommend it. I haven't seen it a lot of places at retail, but I know they do have it at Casa de Monte Cristo if you have one of those in your area. And as Bruce was telling us, one of the shops close to him is a Casa de Monte Cristo now up in Michigan. So they're everywhere. They're all over the country. So look for the Buenaventura. It is definitely worth the $5 to $6. All right, we're going to take a break and come back and do some tasting. Since Ian brought, usually when I bring beers, I bring 3. Ian has brought
19,
a small truckload of high ABV beers. Plus, we'll be tasting the bourbon today, which I'm actually really excited about. This will be my first time to ever try an AD Laws bourbon, and I did a little reading about them on the internet. Man, the reviews on all of their products are just fantastic. And so this will be their bottled and bond, so we're excited about that. We'll get to that, plus drinking news and Rocky Patel and the reps from Oliva, Alec Bradley, and Crowned Heads have all hit the road. We'll tell you what they're doing when we come back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It's the program that's all about craft beer, fine cigars, and what was the other thing? Oh, yeah, spirits. Craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We are brought to you by mycigarshirts.com. You can go there and check out cool shirts for yourself or for your buddies. And I understand, by the way, they are working on a new shirt at mycigarshirts.com, Ian, that the shirt's just going to say, I'm down like 4 flat tires. So
with a cigar picture
on it. Yeah, it'll be perfect. Speaking of tires, the wheels on the bus go round and round for Rocky Patel Patel, for Oliva Cigars, Alec Bradley, and Crowned Heads. They have all, since there were no cigar trade shows this year because of the craziness of the pandemic, these guys got a bus, and they've all taken. Oh my God, we have been pod crashed, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the show, Mr. Alan Denny. How are you, buddy? How are you? All right, we'll pull you a chair around and set you up a microphone. So that was brilliant. So Alan now, for a while there was, and I was going to mention this, for a while there was a contest going on, which I never understood because it was some sort of. Like it was some sort of an honor or something. But for a while there was a contest going on between Alan and our buddy Chris Hart over who had been a guest on the show the most times.
Oh, I've been way past that.
Yeah, and that hasn't been talked about in a while because Alan has been on much more. But the thing is, Alan now takes the total title for the person who has pod crashed the most often. He has, and I think we still need Ian's new mic. Pardon us while we
Check,
reposition.
1 2 check
here.
check 1 2
There
check
we go.
check
There we go.
check.
So Alan is one of our favorite guys, even though we've been told by some people who write reviews for the show that nobody cares about him. But we do, and we're thrilled to have him on. So welcome to the show, man.
Well, I'm thrilled to be here.
I
Thank
am
you
so glad to
much.
see. I haven't seen you in person in way too long.
Yeah, it's been a while.
So Galveston was spared from most of the craziness from the hurricane. Everything cool at the shop at Galveston Island Cigar Lounge.
100%.
Yeah, no problems or wind issues or storm surge or anything.
The storm surge brought some water up to the seawall and waves crashing, but other than that, there was nothing. There were no heavy gusts or anything like that.
We really caught a break this time.
We did.
We really did. So because that thing when it came ashore was extremely powerful.
Yeah. It's beating up Louisiana pretty bad. So hearts out to Louisiana.
Yeah, there's 2 shops that got hit directly, and I haven't talked to the owners to see. There's a cigar club in Beaumont, and they have their parent location is Cigar Club in Lake Charles. Yeah. And that one's been there for a long time. And I don't know. I know some of the guys that work there were not in Beaumont, but Beaumont got hit pretty heavily.
Got hit pretty heavily, yeah. And I've been to the location in Lake Charles, and it's a pretty cool place.
It's a great shop.
Yeah, it really is a great shop. So you may know something about this, Alan. I was just about to share when someone walked in the door, and it was funny because I thought, is it like the janitor staff from here at the building? Like I was trying not to become distracted, and then out of the corner of my eye, I saw that whoever the janitor was holding a bottle of something that looked very much like a rum. So
In your defense, in this section of the building, it could have been like, I found this in the garbage.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. In fact, my business partner, that he and I run the company that has these studios and these facilities here. We used to do this thing where if some of us would come up and work like on a weekend or something, and we'd have beers or maybe get a bottle or two of wine, and we'd be working and enjoying some libations, and then when we would leave, we would put all of the empties into his trash can in his office because we wanted the cleaning crew to think that he had some sort of a problem. So
I love that there's absolutely no real reason to do that other than it's funny.
Other than just it's fun. That's absolutely right. So Alan, you may know about this. I was about to share the story, and this has been a month or so ago that this started, but because they didn't have the big tobacconist conventions this year because of the pandemic, Rocky Patel, Oliva, Alec Bradley, and Crowned Heads all got this bus, put their logos on the side of it, and started doing road tours.
The road show.
Just going around to different tobacco retailers, offering them their usual convention specials and kind of promoting what they were doing. That man, I would love to have just been able to stow away on that bus.
Yeah.
I wish I'd have known.
Yeah.
I could have taken you.
Oh, really? No kidding.
We went, and we were slotted to have 5 people go. So it was going to be Jonathan, Steve, myself, Double D, and one of our really, really top select customers, the judge, which I don't know if you've met the judge. I know Ian has. His name's Pedro Ruiz. And
I've heard about him.
Last minute, Pedro couldn't go to the show. He ended up going and meeting us at Stogie's for the after party. And then Jonathan and Steve both had to back out. So I could have taken y'all.
Oh, man. Well,
It was yeah, but it was last minute. So I had no knowledge up until literally we're leaving.
I'm assuming smoking and drinking were allowed on the bus.
Not on the bus.
Not on the bus?
We actually weren't on the bus.
Okay.
I can't even.
But they rolled up in the bus and then did their little road show, right?
And let me tell you, they pulled out all the stops.
That's
for
awesome.
This event.
Well, all of those are companies that if you and Ian has been to the big. Back when it was IPCPR, and you were able to go onto the floor and see the rather elaborate booth setups that these guys would.
Some of them were absolutely insane.
You mentioned that Drew Estate was way over the top.
Drew Estate was a disco party. It was crazy.
Yep.
Yeah,
They literally had disco balls.
So they did this instead, I guess, these companies, and did it together so they could pool their resources and do it.
It was, as a matter of fact, they didn't just pull out the stops; they pulled out all of them. So there were 2 shows in Houston. In Texas, Dallas and Houston, both of them 2 days apiece. Well, if you had shops, especially some of the bigger shops like Club Humidor and Fink, Havana House up in Austin, Cigar Club from Lake Charles, Beaumont, those guys that if they were coming into town, they paid for the hotel. And I can't think of the name of the hotel, but it's somewhere right around here, and it's like a 5-star top of the line hotel. They had an awesome menu for us to eat. Like, it was a sit down dinner for you when you got there. All the shops were slated at different times, so it wasn't like everybody was crammed in all at once. And the cocktail menu, they gave you a bunch of tickets when you got there, and then the reps were like, "Do you need extra tickets?" So it was food and drink, and they gave us. I think me and Double D walked out of there probably with somewhere between 20 and 25 cigars a piece from just 4 companies. So they were giving you samples of everything, and there were some fabulous new cigars.
That's awesome.
Nice.
That's awesome. Well, the latest information that we have on the legal battles, we had Trey Boring, our legal expert, was on last week, brought us up to speed. But one of the things that I thought really was important to mention, and Trey was making a big point of this, is that Cigar Rights of America really want to urge people, don't just say, that's great. We got the implementation of this extended, postponed indefinitely. We won. Now we don't have to worry about it anymore. That's actually not the case. It was a huge victory. But just this week, the Cigar Association of America began the process of appealing the substantial equivalence ruling. This is one of the most onerous pieces of this potential regulation, because this is the one, without going into too much detail, this is the part of it that will drive some cigar companies and some cigar retailers out of business, because of how difficult it will be for premium cigar makers and retail outlets to be able to follow these guidelines when it comes to premium cigars. And this stuff is still on the books. This postponement, this indefinite delay, it's not a definite delay, it's an indefinite delay, which means it'll come to an end at some point. And when it does, if we've just kind of been sitting back thinking that we've won this thing, we're going to be in for a really bad surprise. So they've started that process this week. It's a good time now to join Cigar Rights of America, if you're not a member. And we don't do that just because Trey's our friend. We do that because they are one of the only organizations that is here to support you and me as individual cigar smokers. The big causes and stuff, they all have very expensive lobbyists. They have people who are working on their behalf. Cigar Rights of America works on our behalf as people who want to be able to smoke and enjoy premium cigars. So it's a big deal.
Yep.
It's a big deal. I'm going to grab a bottle opener for Ian. It'll take me a second.
That'll be awesome.
Oh, I got one in my pocket.
You got one in your pocket? I love that.
Bam.
Quick draw even.
Mm-hmm. I will go ahead and produce the smoking and toasting bottle opener just in case.
You know what?
Show it off.
I actually lost.
You lost yours?
No, I didn't lose it. So when we were at Casa de Monte Cristo, I think it was me and Chris on the show.
I remember we had both of you on the show.
Kind of a pod crash at that. But that one was a known pod crash. This was an unknown
This
pod
was
crash.
unknown to me, at least. I have a feeling Ian might have been in on it, but I was
what are you talking about?
I was completely surprised.
So yeah, it took me a a minute. Donna's hard to get a hold of, and I
Yes.
thought she might be here, and
Yes.
picking that lock was a pain.
Yeah, I know.
No, but when we were at Casa, you had gifted me one of these.
Right.
And when a certain producer was
Mm-hmm.
picking up everything, my bottle opener got put back in, and
Oh.
it was gone.
Well, you now have one. You now have one of your very own. We've not made these available for sale or anything. We've just handed them out to guests and people on the show that we thought might enjoy them. So we don't have more than a handful of them, but they've been fun, and maybe at some point we'll try to arrange to sell these on the
Did you
website.
read that the cigar industry got another win this week?
What was that?
Out of California.
Was this? Oh, yes, that premium cigars were exempted from the ban on flavored cigars
tobacco.
flavored tobacco in California. The flavored cigars are being banned outright
Right.
in California. They're going to be illegal
Yeah.
to sell. However, it's not as good a win as we think it might be,
Well, we got something really important out of it that had never been done before.
which is they exempted premium cigars.
Well, they
yeah.
exempted premium cigars, but they
The definition.
The definition.
Right.
That was the big one as
Yeah.
what they were by weight. Now the price was
the
the one
price is the
everybody-
problem. Yeah.
But it went into what makes a premium cigar, and now we have a court that has dictated
that has said this is premium cigar.
Right.
We've got to get them to move a little on the price because right
Yeah.
now they're saying that a premium cigar is defined by all of these things, all of which are pretty much right, but that it wholesales for $12.
Oh, no.
And there is no
That's
maybe
crazy.
maybe the cigar you smoked for this week's show wholesales for $12.
Wholesale?
Yeah,
for
wholesale.
$12?
But there are no flavored cigars or infused cigars that I'm familiar with that wholesale. Well, I think
Well, that means
I think
the only
Lars
premium
Teton's might have
cigars out
had
there
one,
are
but
Lars
that guy's,
Teton,
that guy's
Fire, and-
nuts. So
Actually, with it being California as high as their tax rate is,
Yeah.
they're,
Oh,
California,
That's almost a Swisher at that point.
Minnesota.
an acid blondie might be.
Yeah,
Might
but the
be.
Blondie Bellicoso and some of the acids might actually fall into that,
Yeah.
depending on, and it also depends is that pre-tax or post-tax. If it's
Right.
pre-tax, it's absolutely none of them will fall
Right,
into it. But if it's
right.
post-tax, that would actually, some of those could hit the mark.
Well, it's been interesting seeing a few things go our way, and that's been absolutely awesome. So it's show number 200. Alan Denny has crashed, which I'm just thrilled about, and it's good to see you. And Ian, you have already opened up a beer. So talk to me about what this first one
buddy,
is, my
I
friend.
This has been cellaring in my refrigerator since
Ooh.
it's about 2014. This is a Weyerbacher Quad Ale, Belgian-style quadruple ale. Comes in at, do you want to guess?
9.5.
I'm going to go with 11.
11.8.
It doesn't
Wow.
taste it, that's for sure.
Wow.
It is so
boozy,
fruity.
but it's very, very fruity. Yeah, that's the thing. It
It's
doesn't
so fruity
It
and
doesn't
round.
have the fruitiness to it. Kind of keeps you from noticing
Yep.
how boozy it actually is.
It's
It is-
sweet.
It is delicious. It is very sweet, but not sweet in that sort of fruited beer way. It's more sweet in a I don't know, maybe a dark dried fruit sort of.
Yeah,
way.
there's
Yeah.
a wonderful tartness to the finish too, that like a dried cherry tartness.
I was getting fig, like dried fig.
There's a fig in
Yeah.
there, a little bit kind of. There's
I don't have a camera close enough to me to show, but Ian, can you tip your cup toward the camera and let people see the particles that are floating in there? This
did
is
you get particles? I got a little bit.
Oh, look!
Oh, yeah.
Show them
Oh,
mine.
wow.
It's full of residue, shall we say?
That's the best.
Yeah, and Ian gave me that one on purpose, of course. But fortunately, none of them have stuck to my teeth, so that's good. I don't mind having a little thickness to the beer. I just don't like it to be actually chewy. But I will tell you though, this is delicious, and it does give you the sense that this has been aging for a while.
You know, so I'm not one of those to say, okay, just because it's a beer that you can't get, it's obviously better than what you get here. Like a lot of people are like that. Oh, I can't get that beer here. It's great. I have to have it. But I am very sad that I can't get Weyerbacher here because Weyerbacher is a brand that makes beers in the style that I really like. You know, a lot of brands make styles like, okay, we do a bunch of IPAs or we do a bunch of this.
Right, we do a lot of
sour
right.
ales or whatever. Weyerbacher makes quads and barley wines and triples,
That's what they're all about.
and I love all of them. They're so good.
Where are these guys out of? Do you know?
They're out of Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania. Okay.
Yeah, so my
makes sense.
brother Dave brings them down whenever he gets a chance. They're from Easton, Pennsylvania, Weyerbacher Brewing Company, Easton, Pennsylvania, and a quadruple that's been cellaring for 6 years and tastes this amazing.
It really is good. It really is good.
It's pretty awesome because sometimes beers like this will go to soy sauce or they'll go to
That's true.
They get weird,
Yeah.
Well, and so certainly up in the Pennsylvania area and in New Jersey and a lot of the surrounding states, you should be able to find Weyerbacher, and this is well worth seeking out. These guys are good.
Weyerbacher's amazing. One of my favorite breweries that I can't get to, and again, it's not because hey, it's just one of those exotic things I can't get because we get great beers here in Texas. I'm a big fan of Texas beers, but I don't know a lot of Texas beer companies that really do a whole bunch of
this style.
Belgian style and barley wines all the time as a like their Merry Monks. We've had that on the show is a standard in their line.
Right.
Nobody around here makes anything like that.
Right.
As a standard line.
As a standard line. Sure. Sure. No, you're right about that, and maybe then there's still a. Still a hole in the market for somebody to pop up and do this type of thing because certainly, even though probably IPA is a much more popular, best-selling type of style, there is the people who like this style of beer are fanatics about it, and they will come back to you and come back all the time if you're producing them. So
yes,
so that's a very good thing. We're doing show number 200, and originally we had talked about. This being a big, blowout with lots of people, but we had to settle for a much quieter version, and we'll do that later. Yes, sir.
There's almost an apple pie, like on the very end, like after you stop drinking it, and retrohale, like right there in the back of the palate.
It does have that
sitting there.
It does have that thing that kind of makes you go. I call it the Doritos effect. It makes you go, you really want another one. Yeah. It has the Doritos effect for sure. It's delicious. It really is. All right, I'll tell you what. Let's do. Let's take a break. We want to come back. When we come back, I want to talk about some of our memories of the previous 200 episodes. Plus, there's a lot more going on. Drinking news. The teaser headline for Drinking News this week is a hairy mistake. And it, once again, I'm sorry to disappoint you, does not start with a Florida man. But we'll get there. Don't worry. It's Smoking and Toasting. We are glad you're here for show number 200. We're glad Alan Denny, his pod crashed, and we'll be right back.
Doc's just sent me a message saying
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 200, baby. We finally made it here. We've been halfway to 200 for like a year and a half. It's and we finally arrived. So
you know what happens next week, right?
What's that?
Halfway to 300.
Yeah, of course, of course. So is 250 a milestone? I'm wondering if maybe by the time we get to 250, that things might have opened up a little. And we could do our big, celebration like we're talking. I don't know. Could happen.
I think 201, 202.
Yeah, maybe.
210's definitely a milestone.
They're all milestones, quite frankly. And
every week is a milestone here at Smoking and Toasting.
We used to say, "Can you believe nobody has stepped in and tried to stop us?" But
that was redundant.
That was one of the complaints. The same guy that told us that nobody cared about Alan Denny and Chris Hart. That was that was a complaint of his.
What?
Was hearing to say that nobody had stopped.
Doc says, "Tell Cruz I was trying to get the protest started with that hashtag."
Wait, so in the comments on the feed for Facebook Live, our good friend Docs produced the hashtag Cancel Cruz. And apparently it's trending now on Twitter, so I don't know what that's about. But but this is when we were talking about trying to start our own protest, right?
That's right.
Trying to start our own protest.
Mothers Against Smoking and Toasting,
or
mast.
Must sounds better, but it doesn't fit alphabetically. So.
Mast.
Our show is brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. The coolest shirts for cigar fans, all starting under $20. You can grab them for yourself or anybody you know that loves cigars. MyCigarShirts.com because cigars.
Because cigars.
And yeah, so I think we should start our own protest group. There's plenty of stuff to protest.
Oh,
the fact that Alan's back, you could protest that. There's so many different things that you could protest.
Yeah, I don't know what made him think he could just pod crash anytime he wants.
I don't know. He
Although it was
seems
good
to-
to see you at the shop the other
Yeah,
day.
it was.
Yeah, I don't know where he could have gotten that idea. So I was thinking back to like favorite times and favorite moments on the show, things that we've had that have happened that have been a lot of fun. One of the things actually that I was thinking has been a favorite of mine was actually only a couple of weeks ago when we had Liliana Rodriguez, our tequila expert, on the show.
I have gotten more feedback
Yes.
from that. Everyone that saw the show was like, she is amazing.
She not only did she know her tequila, but there's just something about her, something about her whole vibe, the way she presented it. You were like, this is someone who's really super passionate about this, and she's not trying to sell us anything. She's just trying to like teach us about.
Well, she doesn't actually rep
Right.
anybody.
She's right. She's
just
not in charge
a
of anything
lover
other
of
than
tequila. It was
her own
amazing.
tequila. And I would encourage you, by the way, to seek her out on Facebook if you spend any time on Facebook. Liliana Rodriguez. She her posts are amazing. Whether she's posting photos of her tequila collection or different stuff, photos of cactus, like they're amazing. I'm constantly looking and going, and I don't even spend that much time on Facebook, and I'm constantly looking and going, whoa, that's just amazing. So. I see you're still enjoying your beer.
I just wanted to point out just a helpful tip on beers with a little bit of chunky stuff in it.
Mm-hmm.
If you sift it through your teeth when you drink it,
Mm-hmm.
you can save the chunky stuff and chew it up after your
Thank you.
after your sip.
That's good to know. That's good to know. I very, very much appreciate it. So why don't we take a look at this? This is our list, and you can maybe pour us another extremely high ABV.
Let me think about that for a minute.
ABV beer while we
Wow,
while we do this.
that's early in the show.
Very early for me to be stumbling over my words. I came across a list. Actually, my good friend Maria Todd sent me an article, which I will also be sharing on the show later on. But it had embedded in it a link that I had to click on because it just sounded too interesting. And it's on the you've heard of this website, Eat This, Not That. They teach you to, like, if you like a certain thing, eat this, it's better for you than
Yeah, I had that
than
book
that.
years
Right.
ago.
Yeah, it's big. So they've got a website, and they do on that website. They have released an article that's all about the most commonly searched beer in every state according to Google. So I thought we might have fun going through a few of these. The people in every state from time to time will Google a beer brand or a beer style. And so here are, in alphabetical order, here are where things went. And now this first one, I already wonder if this may be slightly impacted by what's going on around us with the virus. Because Alabama, our first state on the list, their beer that's most Googled is Corona. You got to wonder, were they Googling Corona beer, or were they just entering Corona, thinking about the coronavirus, and maybe that got it?
Yeah, that's possible.
In Alaska, the most searched beer, Corona. Now, I will admit, Corona.
I feel like I know how this list is going.
Are we going to have 50 of these?
Yeah, there's going to be 50 of them. So if Ian can bring beers with chunks in them, I can do a
No, I mean, are we
beer.
going to have 50 Corona?
Hey, I want to
Coronas, yeah.
point something out because I just opened the Divine Reserve 13, which was it was Belgian triple, I believe, barrel aged Belgian triple, and there's chunks in the cap.
In the cap.
Nice.
So there you go. That's what I'm talking about. I was just
Why
going to
does that
mention,
make me so happy?
if I were in Alaska, I might be Googling Corona, because if you're living up in the ice and snow, you may be wanting to
they
think
do
about
have
a
that
beach.
find your own beach
Yeah,
thing.
yeah, they really do. In fact, I was watching a show on Hulu last night, and I'm too cheap to pay for the Hulu with no commercials, so they put commercials in my show. And there was a Corona commercial, the first one I've seen since the pandemic started, for Corona. They stopped advertising for a while because of the unfortunate similarity in their beer name and the virus.
Well, I think the name has shifted from coronavirus to COVID.
Yes.
So everyone's calling it COVID.
Yeah.
And,
So I think Corona's definitely gotten out there and tried to take their name back. But the
although I know a guy who just got a dog recently, and when we asked what his name was, he said Rona.
Rona. Well, there you go. Well, there was a dog in this video, too. Snoop Dogg. He was the guy selling Corona and walking on the beach. So, and wearing, by the way, a very, very loud
he's doing
and
now?
attractive shirt. What's he doing now?
Oh, he's starting to sell wine.
Oh, Snoop's selling wine?
Snoop has his name on a wine bottle now.
Oh, that's interesting.
We'll talk about that next week.
We should, definitely.
I'll
You'll
send
have
you
to
the
bring
article.
that story. And yeah. Moving to Arizona, but still in the states that begin with A. No, it's not Corona. 805 in Arizona, which is from Firestone Walker.
That's
It's-
delicious beer.
And I will tell you from spending a month in Los Angeles a summer or two ago, that was when I discovered 805. I'm like, this is great.
I was so glad when it started becoming available here. I buy it by the 12-pack.
Yeah,
more often
it's
than not.
actually the
'cause
only way that I've
so
seen
good,
it is in
yeah.
a 12-pack.
It's more
here,
often
but
seen in a 12-pack, but it's so good.
Arizona 1205 in Arkansas. This one surprised me, but it must be available there. Yangling
Ah,
in Arkansas. It's a long way from Pennsylvania.
people in Arkansas can spell Yangling.
Either that or maybe they were trying to write something else. And
Did I do that? I'm sorry.
I bet you can guess California.
California. Weed?
No, 805.
Oh.
805. But there are some weed-infused beers. In Colorado, it's the Denver Beer Company that is the most often Googled beer. Now, if you think
That's
about
pretty
it,
cool.
Colorado is a state with a lot.
Have we
breweries.
ever had anything from Denver?
I don't think
Beer
we
Company?
have.
I don't think we have.
In the article, it shows their graham cracker beer, and it says Denver Beer Company
That
on the front.
sounds delicious.
And I don't think I've ever seen this particular can, so I'm not sure. Going into Connecticut, we find their most searched beer is Guinness. This, having
it
lived,
makes sense. They
having
just got
lived
the-
in New England, that doesn't surprise me.
Well, they
at all.
just got that new Guinness brewery in
Brewery
New
up there,
England,
yeah.
too.
Mm-hmm.
The what do they call it? The something gate. It's called the.
I don't remember. You'll have to.
It's a Guinness brewery, and they call it the something. It's not named the same Guinness,
Right,
but it's
right.
Guinness.
The
It's-
Guinness something.
and they
yeah.
also do some different beers there that are really good. Open Gate.
Open Gate?
Brewery,
We'll,
I think.
we'll look it up, or either
Open
that
Gate,
or Wiki
Guinness,
Brian will-
whatever it is.
will correct us
It's
here.
it's slightly different, but yeah, I've had some of the
Ian,
beers there. and
what
they're
am I
outstanding.
drinking here? This is the Divine Reserve. Which one is this again?
This is the 13. This is a Belgian triple barrel aged.
This is outstanding.
Yeah, buddy.
There's so
Wow.
much sediment in this; it's sticking to the side of
Well, yeah, it stuck to the cap. If you saw that when
Yeah.
Ian took the cap off, yeah. There's
Dude, the chocolate that
It's
comes up
delicious,
after the finish.
and I'm really impressed with how round and smooth it
It's-
is. A lot of times these beers that have aged this long get a little gritty. This
It's
one
got that
doesn't have that consistency.
bourbon-y
At least
flavor,
not until
too.
you get to the bottom of Alan's
Look at the
cup.
bottom
there.
of that.
Yeah.
This is amazing.
Don't be scared.
It's a really delicious beer, though. That's fantastic.
Don't be scared. Those chunks are breakfast.
Hold on.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Spin this around and just look.
Yeah, buddy.
That's amazing.
I got no see.
Dude, I'm all about
I got no problems
Oh,
with that.
me either.
Yeah, well, this I'm not.
What's
I'm
funny,
not
though,
minding
is
this at all.
I guess
just
I
don't
took
wanna
the
chew my
first
beer.
pour, and I got none of it. So I'm gonna start giving you the first pour.
Yeah,
from now
well,
on.
yeah, because I was going to say by the time it got to me, we got chunks.
I took the last one.
Yeah.
'Cause I passed a cruise and I took the last one.
I'm
And
gonna start giving you the first pour. 'cause
Okay.
that's
you know, with
apparently what
whiskey
needs
and
to
beer, I used to, if I'd see that, I didn't like it. I didn't know any better.
Right.
And it was the whiskey expert, Chris Hart, that explained what the sediment was. And now I'm like, oh, give me
Well,
more
I'm
of
used
that.
to some of the IPAs that I really like have got a bit of sediment as the hop. What do you call it? The hop dust. That's what I call
Yeah.
it. The Lapulin hop dust will settle to the bottom of the can, and if you don't swirl it around real good before you pour, you'll get some of that in that last pour. And I kind
Hop
of
dust is a beautiful name for it.
I kind of enjoy it. Hop dust. That'd
Let
be
me
a
ask
good
y'all a
shirt.
question. So I managed a bar. It's been 10, 11 years ago. It was a place called Stingers down in Texas City. It's long gone, and it was in the back of the Texas City Mall. Anyway, we started carrying the Bud Wheat when it came out.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Budweiser tries all these different variations from time to
and they
time.
were trying to compete with I just brain farted. What's the popular wheat?
The one you put the orange in.
Yeah.
You talking Blue Moon?
Blue Moon. They
Yeah.
were trying to compete with that at the time. And there was a thing going around. I don't know if this was rumor or what, that if you didn't roll the beer, that wheat sediment could actually make you sick.
Oh,
Have
my
you ever heard
goodness.
that?
I've never heard that. Now I do know.
No,
lots
it
of,
can give you gas if it's.
I
if
do
it's
know-
still
yeah.
active though.
I do know lots of IPA guys and sour guys that like to roll the can before they pour, just to distribute things a little more evenly, especially if it has, been on the shelf or in the refrigerator for a few days. But yeah, that's I've never heard of it making you sick,
I look at the bottom of the beer as the fun stuff. That's like,
Sure.
I want the last pour.
even if it's Budweiser wheat.
No, that's different. I said beer.
Okay.
Not water.
In Delaware, their most Googled beer is Fat Tire. It's a really good beer. I don't know what makes it popular in
I
Delaware.
want to point out about the 13. I just looked up the Vine Reserve 13. This is a Belgian quad, not a Belgian triple, so I
Okay.
was wrong.
Okay.
It is, let's see, blah, 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 blah. It is 11%.
Mm-hmm.
Date brewed
It's definitely date.
December 19th, 2012.
You were talking about calendar date. I was talking about date as in the fruit because I'm getting
Date
loads of
bottled
that on
was
the palate.
2013, so this has been cellaring since 2013.
Wow. Well, there's no wonder that
It's
there's sediment in that.
delicious.
Yeah, it really is good. It really is good. Florida, they got good taste on beer in
A
Florida.
Florida man.
Highlight is the
Highlight's good.
beer from Cigar City Brewing, and Cigar City is, of course, the brewery that brews the double IPA that's called a Florida Man, which we had on the show a few weeks ago, and it was actually quite good. In Georgia, it's Terrapin Brewing.
Terrapin makes good stuff.
They originated in Athens, so they're a Georgia local. It makes sense as to why there's a lot of hype on the web around those guys. They're described as making a long list of funky beers,
Yep.
including Strawberry Dreamsicle, Moo-Hoo, and Wake and Bake.
That's a company. Wake and Bake is one that was real popular. That's a company that is not afraid to step out and do different stuff.
In Hawaii, it's Aloha Brewing. Now, there's a number of different Hawaiian breweries that we've actually tried things from, but Aloha Beer Company has roots there on the island of Oahu, and they are, unsurprisingly, the most commonly searched beer term by the people in Hawaii. Now we come to one I've never heard of. It's from Idaho. It's Kokanee or Kokanee
Idaho
beer. Idaho. Did I say Idaho?
Idaho?
Oh, Idaho. Idaho. Kokanee beer. Kokanee. Apparently, this is one of British Columbia's best-selling beers, and it appears to be a favorite in Idaho as well.
That's weird. I've never.
Yeah.
That's not on my radar
there's
at
not
all.
a lot to do in Idaho, but
I've driven through Idaho.
Yeah.
When you're not in one of the cities, there's not a lot going on.
yeah.
Like
yeah.
geographically, there's not a lot going on.
It's pretty.
It's flat,
Yeah.
and
But it's just-
and there's a road that drives
There's
straight up
flatness.
through it
Yeah.
with a lot of flatness.
In Illinois, this one I have to admit disappoints me a bit. Not that it's a bad beer, but in Illinois, the most Googled beer is Blue Moon. Now, Blue Moon, I like Blue Moon just fine. My wife
like
likes
the song.
My wife, well, yes, the song is terrific. But Illinois, this is where Goose Island is from. There's so many in Chicago alone. There are so many great creative breweries putting out amazing craft beer. I would have guessed it would be Goose Island.
Yeah. Oh,
Because
or
they're
at
so
least
well known.
Something that's not Blue Moon.
But Blue Moon is number one for Illinois. In Indiana, Yuengling. So Yuengling coming up in its second state here, and we haven't gotten to Pennsylvania yet. It'll be interesting to see if they take Pennsylvania, which is where they're from. Iowa, Surly Brewing Company. They show a picture here in the article of their Furious IPA. I love the name.
They're
I don't
Surly Furious.
I don't think I've had a Surly. Have you?
I'd never heard of Surly. I don't think.
In Kansas, it's all about Yuengling.
That's
Yuengling-
3 states.
Yeah,
Yuengling's
so
in
now
there.
they've passed Corona as being the most often mentioned on the list so far. In Kentucky, Falls City Beer. They're out of Louisville. They've been around since 1905. There are more than 40 craft breweries in the state, but this one has certainly had some competition, not to mention all the other big-name beer giants out there. But Falls City Beer. I've never had a Falls City. Have you? We got to put a few of these on the bucket list, see if we can try them. In Louisiana, Dixie Beer.
I don't know if I've had Dixie.
I have. This should not have won. Not my favorite. It's kind of like, remember on the show last week I was talking about
Is that kind of like a Louisiana Lone Star?
kind of like a Louisiana Natty Bow, not as good as a Lone Star.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. that's
way to take it down. That's like a PBR Louisiana thing.
That's the way. That's the way I would go. In Maine, it's Bissell Brothers. Now, Maine is a very interesting craft brewing state. A lot of really small craft breweries. A lot of very.
They have to be. It's a very small state.
It's a very small state. Yeah, a lot of very. My personal favorite from Maine is Shipyard Brewing, which is based out of Portland. But
remember that graham cracker crust tasting pumpkin beer that they had?
It's the Pumpkinator.
The
Pumpkinator. It's so good. Yeah, it's the one with the picture on the can is
it's
like
not
the
called
headless
Pumpkinator.
horseman.
It's called
you're right. It's not Pumpkinator, but it's the can has got the headless horseman with the pumpkin as a
that
head.
stuff tastes like
holding
the
his head.
crust of the
Yeah,
pumpkin pie.
it's really good.
So good.
But Bissell Brothers wins from Maine. They're actually one of the youngest breweries on the list, having opened in only 2013. But their beer line's easy to identify, and they are the most often Googled beer in Maine. We might as well try one more beer in this segment, Ian, if you want to open one more.
Oh,
because we've got enough.
Somebody's feeling brave
to do. Well, yeah, hey, you bring it, I'll drink.
I got 3 more beers,
and let's don't forget we've got bourbon.
We are in segment.
We got bourbon and Alan. This is number 3. We brought bourbon and Alan apparently has brought. What is this? Is that a rum?
So it is.
Looks like a rum.
Docs will be happy.
Yes.
It's a plantation. It's the HBS.
Oh.
Pick.
All right, I'm going to let Alan pick this one. Do you want
Okay.
Russian Imperial Stout with vanilla bean
Or Russian Imperial Stout with vanilla bean?
or Imperial Coffee Stout or a barrel-aged Russian Imperial Stout?
Let's go the vanilla bean.
I love it. In Maryland, Corona strikes again. Corona, the most Googled beer in Maryland. In Massachusetts, I have to say, this surprises me a bit, having lived there. But again, I haven't lived there in a long time. But Springdale winds up taking the trophy for the most Googled beer in Massachusetts. I'm a huge fan of Harpoon, which is based out of Boston. I am also, you have to tip your hat to the Boston Beer Company, to Sam Adams, and they do lots of business up there. But the most Googled is the brewery called Springdale. They have beer names like But I Digress, Good and You, and You Had to Be There. So it sounds like they're pretty creative. They're highly searchable, and they're a hit among the people in Massachusetts. In Michigan, it's the Detroit Beer Company. Now, Ian, I know you have relatives and stuff in Michigan, and you go up there a bit. Are you familiar at all with Detroit Beer Company? They've been serving beer to patrons in Michigan since 2003. They do show a photo here. It looks like they've got a flight of beer lined up, and there are many different colors.
So that's like a nice local hotspot kind of thing.
I'm
That's
guessing
nice.
so. But again, they're most Googled in the state. This is a state with Bell's in it, so.
That's alarming. But Bell's has been there forever, so people know that Bell's is there. They probably just buy it and don't have to Google it.
And they know it's bells.com probably.
So I have in my hand here Vulgar Display of Power. This is Brash Brewing.
I love it. I love the name. I love the brewery.
We are actually stepping up in ABV on this one.
Oh, good, because I wouldn't want to go lower than 11.8 or whatever the last one was. Dear God, where are we headed now?
This one's tipping in at a modest 14%.
Holy moly! Well, the Brash guys, they're.
In their defense, it's called Vulgar Display of Power.
Yeah.
And since I saw that Josh was actually watching the show, I'm not going to describe this. He's probably seen it before.
Mm-hmm.
The can, actually, I'll describe it. It has what looks like a demon on there, and it's holding some balloons that have the Brash label on it, the Brash.
And this is the Imperial Stout with vanilla bean.
This is Imperial Stout brewed with vanilla beans. I will tell you, Brash is an amazing brewery for a couple things. First off, if you want brutal, that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And their stouts and their IPAs are about as brutal as they get.
Mm-hmm. I love their IPAs. I've had several of them, and they're really good. They also, when I was out there watching that band, Mr. Plow.
Straight motor oil. That's awesome.
They had a Goza that day that was phenomenal. It was.
I want to pour this
was
one on
just
camera.
brewed.
I want you to see what happens.
You want to see it kind of ooze.
It starts out black and just stays black.
and the way it comes, the viscosity when it comes out of the can. I mean, I have hand sanitizer that's more liquid than that. It's crazy.
Oh my god.
That's crazy. But boy, does it smell great, Ian. This just really is.
I get a lot of coffee on the nose.
Wait till you taste it. This is real coffee here. I appreciate the vanilla bean. It kind of cuts. You remember the Black is Beautiful beer that we had on the show last week? Yeah. It was so just straight ahead black coffee. It was delicious. Yeah. But it was pretty much just the one note.
Well, so you guys are calling it coffee. I don't call this coffee. This to me doesn't taste. It has coffee kind of flavor. This to me tasted like roasted barley. Like this is way over roasted barley to me. That is and like burnt caramel.
See, I get the
more
burnt
than
caramel.
coffee.
I get coffee that's cut with like just a hint of vanilla, like dark black coffee.
See, that's where I was going with it too. And I was mentioning it that I like the way the vanilla plays on this.
Wait till you taste the next one.
Yeah, because that's the super double ultra coffee.
That is the actual coffee stout.
Yeah,
this is not a coffee stout. This is just an imperial stout.
It's definitely got the flavors there.
See, I'm thinking just drinking this in the morning instead of iced coffee.
Fuck yeah! I
don't. Why bother with all the ice cubes and stuff? Just put this in your fridge and go for it.
Iced coffee. Freeze this and make this into ice cubes.
I like it.
My wife.
Will this freeze? Yeah, it will freeze.
On occasion, we'll buy something ridiculous. And the other day we were in the grocery store and she bought this cereal. It was just called churros. Now, I know when you look in the cereal aisle and the cereal for kids is just basically sugary ass sugar that you add some milk to. That's what this is, except for it's churros flavor.
If anyone here has not had a churro before, think of it as basically a long fried donut with lots of cinnamon and
sugar. Yeah. That's now a cereal, just so you know. I don't know if it's available more than regionally, but that is a cereal.
Well, things started heading in that direction back when someone decided that, kids' cereal isn't sugary sweet enough. Let's start naming it after things like cookies. So then we had Cookie Crisp. Remember
Which
that?
was just cookies.
Yeah.
It was just cookies in a bowl.
It literally is cookies.
I know.
Like there's
in a
no
bowl.
there's no
Small
even
chocolate chip cookies.
hiding it.
But I'm going to go on record here and say I do occasionally still have to have a bowl of Captain Crunch with Crunch Berries. I know it's not good for me, but neither's this beer, and I'm enjoying this. So
Okay, so as weird as this may sound, like the whole idea of me mentioning cereal is this would go great with the churros. This would be amazing.
It also would go great with a really hefty Nicaraguan cigar.
But since we're talking about cereal,
Yeah.
I like my cereal to be a little bit soggy. I don't like it too crunchy. I like it to sit in the milk a little bit, so I'll make
I don't
my
like
cereal.
it too soggy.
No, not too soggy.
in the
too
middle
soggy
there
is a little
somewhere.
weird. Like somewhere in the middle. Like when you get that perfect balance. It's like Nilla wafers. When you leave them open just the right amount of time, they're
bit of softness.
amazing.
Oh, so my friend
The perfect amount of stale.
my friend Dave, his wife Gwen loves those Peeps that they put out at Easter time. The little marshmallows.
I don't even know what to say about that. That's bizarre.
Oh, it gets worse. She opens the bag up because she likes them slightly stale.
How would
Where
you
they
ever
get
know
a
the
little-
difference?
Where they get a little crusty on top, apparently.
I'm out.
Yeah, I was out at Peeps, but that's just that's just me. I mean, don't get me wrong. I have my vices when it comes to
Okay.
things like that,
Bless
but
her heart. Is she also one that likes those candy corns? Because
I can't remember. She either loves them or hates them. I don't remember which.
that's weird.
Yeah.
Anyway. I read somewhere,
Shout
maybe
out
it was
to
an
Gwen.
Onion article or something, that they actually haven't made candy corn since like 1913.
Yeah, we're still going off of an old supply.
like people just keep like regifting it and passing it around.
I didn't know actually they were still making this beer, but it's the most Googled one in Minnesota.
What you got?
Hams.
I had no idea they still made hams.
I honestly didn't either. That's what I said. It's one of the oldest beers in the country. The brewery first opened its doors in 1865 in St. Paul, Minnesota. And I will tell you that having had one of these, it might have been from that first production run. It might have. It's just like that. In Mississippi, this blows my mind. Yuengling in Mississippi.
Huh.
We are like deprived here in Texas because we can't buy Yuengling. Apparently,
Well,
you can buy it in all
TABC
these-
is a little weird because like they have it. You can literally get it everywhere. Every state that touches Texas, you can buy Yuengling in. You can't buy it in Texas.
Yeah, in Missouri.
And as far as I know, they don't have any desire to bother with Texas because they're sold everywhere else.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, you guys enjoy what you got. We do have great beer here. I mean, I do feel like Texas is wildly unrepresented as a craft beer state. There are so many great things going on here.
Like my brother lives in International Falls, Minnesota. You can go into the liquor store that's not too far from his house and get Shiner.
Right.
And that's badass.
Well,
Yeah, that is badass. You're
There
right.
is a from certain distilleries and certain breweries that don't want to come to Texas for one simple thing. They're scared of the success that they could have in Texas. And as stupid as that sounds, if you come into Texas and you're wildly successful, you have two choices. You either go on back order everywhere else and provide it for Texas, or you can't supply what Texas wants if you get popular.
Right. So it can almost mess you up.
Texas is a huge market.
If it takes off. Oh, I remember. You remember, Ian? It was since we started the show was when Bell's became available in Texas, and for a while you couldn't find it in any of the stores. It's like it appeared and then it was gone, and now they've got the stock back up and you can find it. But to exactly what you're saying, it worked, and
to anyone
and they
who's-
had to be prepared for
Who's
it.
listening to this outside of Texas and hasn't been here, when you drive east on I-10 and you come into Texas over in Orange County area and the like coming into Beaumont, the sign you see is welcome to Texas, population, whatever it is, and then you see the mile marker at almost 900 miles.
Right, because it starts all the way over in El Paso.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, at almost 900 miles.
It's a big state.
Yeah.
It's a big
Well,
state.
we don't,
And-
for the most part, people here in Texas, if somebody says, well, how far is that? We don't say, well, it's 140 miles. We do it by time.
Yes, it's hours
right.
away.
It's an hour away. It's an
Yeah.
hour and a half away. No,
Yeah.
you're absolutely right. And I'm guilty of it. People in the northern suburbs of Houston, people talk about, oh, I live in the Woodlands. I'm like, that's Dallas, right?
Yeah.
You know?
Houston is an hour away from
right,
Houston.
exactly. In Missouri, the most Googled beer, Yuengling. It is really taking
That's
over
4
this list.
5 now.
Yep,
Yeah.
That's 5 now.
In Montana, and this is a new one for me. It's made by Kettle House Brewing Company. It's cold smoke beer. It's a Scotch ale. Are you familiar with cold smoke beer? We got to try this. It's got a picture of a guy, I think, downhill skiing on it. It's a tall 16-ounce can, and it says Scotch ale. The most commonly searched beer is Kettle House Brewing's flagship cold smoke Scotch ale.
I love Scotch ale.
Described as a dark ale with a slightly sweet coffee finish. It would go perfect with what we're drinking today.
Oh, yeah.
In Nebraska, care to guess?
Yuengling?
Yuengling.
That's 6.
Yuengling is dominating this list. In Nevada, 805. So there's a real trend. This shows you that 805 is to California, Nevada, Arizona. This is the real, like, it's what Shiner Bock is
Right.
here in Texas. It's what
Harpoon.
Harpoon IPA was
Yeah.
when I lived in Boston. It's just that beer that
And
just
Yuengling
everybody
on the
and
East Coast.
absolutely, it's that beer that
I'm
everybody.
surprised it's not in Utah.
In New Hampshire, Schilling. Schilling Beer Company brews progressive continental European-inspired beers out of Littleton, New Hampshire. Now, I have heard of Schilling. I don't know if I've ever had one.
I don't think I've ever heard of it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, in the photo, it looks delicious. In Jersey, they go for Corona, but, that's Jersey. New Mexico, 805 makes another appearance. And they show some taps from New Mexico, and, yep, it's there.
That's like, I think, 4 for 805 now.
Yeah. I think it is.
And
it was,
6 for
was Arizona, Nevada, New Mexico, and
California. Right,
Yeah.
that's 4, and then 6 for Yuengling.
But in New York, Corona racks up another victory, which is terrible because there's some amazing breweries in New York.
Brooklyn.
Even Brooklyn Brewing,
Come on, baby.
the brewery that does the beer with the long names. I can't think of their name off the top of my head.
I'm totally blank.
Yeah,
yes.
but there's so many.
Evil
great,
Twin.
Evil Twin. Thank you. Evil Twin. That's a great brewery. Are you kidding me? In North Carolina, Burial is their most searched beer name. Burial Beer Company is native to Asheville, North Carolina, and they are the proprietors of a very, very edgy collection of beers. The can that they show in this illustration is of a beer, an IPA called Vicious Cycle, and
Nice.
it looks very dark and like underground comics sort of dark. Drecker Beer in North Dakota. Drecker Brewing Company started in the garage before opening up a brewery in 2014. Today, people are searching for it on Google.
Good for them.
Now, here's an interesting left turn from all the Corona mentions. In Ohio, the beer they list as most Googled is Modelo. It's like it kind of snuck in and outdid Corona for Mexican beer styles in there. But you know what? I can enjoy me a Modelo, especially a Negro Modelo.
Negro Modelo's
That's
right,
that's a pretty
Modelo.
good
You know what? Out of all of the Mexican lagers or Mexican beers, Modelo has probably got the most flavor overall.
Give me a Modelo or a Tecate.
I thought
if I'm
you
going
liked
there.
the jalapeno.
Oh God, that beer. That's that.
I thought it was Dos Equis Light that was your favorite.
No, it's the Dos Equis Mexican Pale Ale.
Yeah.
Remember? Oh my God, that's the worst beer of all time. In Oklahoma, it's Blue Moon. In Oregon, it's Buoy, as in those things that float in the
Buoy.
Buoy, yeah. Buoy Cream Ale. They're handcrafted in Astoria, Oregon, and that's crazy because there are more craft breweries in Portland, Oregon, than there are in Minnesota. I mean, it's crazy how many breweries there are. But apparently, this one has been deemed the most popular by Google Trends in the state of Oregon. In Pennsylvania, this is hilarious. It's not Yuengling. It's Evil Genius beer. And they do make some great beers, Evil Genius. They say in the article, were you surprised the most commonly searched beer in Pennsylvania wasn't Yuengling? But Evil Genius beat out the beer veteran in the Google searches. They're based
Well,
out of
again, I think
Pottsville.
that's a familiarity thing.
I think you could be right.
You know, I mean, Yuengling is ubiquitous, so you could get it everywhere there.
Yeah.
It is the beer when you walk into a bar that you know they're going to have. Like when you walk into any bar that isn't stupid, you have Shiner here everywhere.
Right.
Like, you just
you can
expect.
always get a Shiner.
By
right.
the way, if you walk into a place in Texas that doesn't have Shiner, that's an awkward place to eat.
Well, and
Yeah.
there are some. You will walk into some where the rep for AB InBev has managed to convince them that the only thing they need to represent craft beer is Carbach.
yeah.
And Carbach makes some there's some Carbach beers that I like, but I'm as an IPA guy, I'm not a big fan of Hopadillo. And if I ask if you got an IPA and the only one you got is Hopadillo, I may just order a Lone Star. You know what I'm saying? Like, it just doesn't do
So
it for me.
I want to point out that if you ask at any place if they have an IPA and they say they only have one, that's bizarre to me because
unless they only have a couple of taps. or
go
something,
ask
yeah.
anywhere if they have something that isn't an IPA and see what happens.
Right. No, you're right. But there are a lot of places though where every beer category that's not Budweiser or Miller or Corona is represented by a Carbach product,
Yeah.
and all that is the AB guy basically
Saying, "We need
managing
one
to
truck,
land
one
all
delivery,
the
and you're done,"
tabs,
yeah.
right? And it's quite frankly, and I've told restaurants this before. You're the person who is in charge of ordering your beer. They're lazy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's just getting all your stuff in one place and feeling like, okay, I got it covered. And it isn't about servicing the customer. Again,
Talking to you, Buffalo
I'm not-
Wild Wings.
yeah,
Right.
I'm not ragging on Carbach. I like a lot of their products, but I don't want that to be the only option.
What's the Bach that AB InBev does that's
Crawford Bock.
The Crawford Bock from
No,
from Crawford?
there's another one I thought that they had that was competing with
So
Shiner.
I think you're thinking of the it's not AB InBev though. It's the Miller guys that do Texas
Ziegenbach.
Ziegenbach.
Thank
That's
you.
the one I was
Yeah,
thinking
that's the Miller guy. I'd rather drink a Ziegenbach.
Let me
frankly,
point
than
out.
a
I have drank quite a bit of Ziegenbach in my life, and I'll tell you why. Me and my wife.
Lost a bet.
That's happened a few times too.
Yeah.
But let me tell you why. Because we used to go
That's
to this
Malort when you
great
lose the
old
bet.
school bowling alley in Pearland, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
This place was literally like walking into the 70s or late 60s. And for $6, you could buy a pitcher of Ziegenbach. I'm going to repeat that.
For $6.
For $6, you could just buy a pitcher of Ziegenbach.
That's like one of the greatest.
I sent that
He
one.
just showed me the picture of guys
For,
trying Malort.
For $6, a pitcher of Ziegenbach is fine.
Yeah.
But for $6 for a 6-pack, nah,
Not so much.
not
So
even.
there was a bar, and two of them actually in Clear Lake. You may remember them. Do y'all remember Seabrook Beach Club and
I remember the name. I don't
Seabrook
think I
Beach
ever
Club and Kemah Beach Club?
Mm-hmm.
And they were on the water. One of them was the old fine dining and stuff. They had beach volleyball, and it was great. And they did crawfish, and they did Red Bull, or Red Dog
Red Dog.
Red Dog.
That's
oh my
for
God.
$3 a pitcher.
I remember
And
Red Dog.
$3 a pitcher.
Yeah, I'm gonna tell you, I drank.
You woke up feeling so bad.
Oh, horrible! But it was great with the crawfish.
I bet it was. Yeah. Red Dog. That's one of those things where if you're going to drink Red Dog, make sure it's cold.
They did it, and you could get that or Bud Ice.
Bud Ice. Those came out right around the
Same
same
time,
time.
yeah.
I remember that. In Rhode Island, by the way, they go completely off the list, and Sapporo is their number one.
Sapporo?
Yeah. I have eaten sushi in Rhode Island, and I will enjoy a Sapporo with a sushi meal from time to time. In South Carolina, Greens beer. I'm not familiar with Greens. Are you, Ian?
Never heard of it.
Even the website Eat This Not That said they had to do some investigating. There's a UK-based Greens beer that makes gluten-free beers, and there's also Greens Beverages in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, that sells anything from wine, beer, and liquor. They say they're making an educated guess that the most commonly searched beer is referring to that one, but it's hard for them to say for sure. In other words, not a lot of beer searching going on in South Carolina. In South Dakota, it's Hydra Beer, the Hydra Beer Company in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and they show what looks like a lovely little Pilsner in a Pilsner glass. It looks really good in the photo. In Tennessee, it's a bridged beer. A bridged beer offers 16 different beers, including a New England IPA called Toppy Rock and hard seltzer options. I don't know that much about a bridged beer, but that's one we gotta do some looking into. All right, Ian, we're now to Texas. Care to take a guess? Most Googled beer in Texas.
Lone Star.
Lone Star is correct, and it is Texans. They say love barbecue and Lone Star beer. Lone Star Brewery was first built in 1884, making it the first large brewery to pop up in the state. By the way, the last time I was in San Antonio, I was able to notice that they've turned the area around the old Pearl Brewery in San Antonio into
nice.
this very hip little area
Yeah.
with lots of cool restaurants
Yep.
and bars and like a great sort of hangout area. Have you ever had a Pearl beer?
I have.
What is your take on Pearl beer?
Meh.
Yeah, that's kind of me too.
Pearl
They still
is-
brew though, I think, at the brewery.
Pearl's not that far from Lone Star flavor-wise.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. It's
I
cold,
really,
it's okay.
really prefer Lone Star. though.
Cold, it's okay. And I will tell you, the people that say, "Oh, I'd rather have a Pabst Blue Ribbon than Pearl," Pabst Blue Ribbon is not good.
Pearl, so you'd say Pearl's better.
Pearl's passable. Lone Star is a slight notch up from Pearl, I think. It's hard to tell. They're all basically mass consumable lager-ish beers.
Mm-hmm.
And drunk cold enough, they're okay.
Utah takes Guinness. Vermont does Frost Beer Works, which is interesting because, again, a lot of great breweries in Vermont.
Yeah, never
Frost,
heard of it.
Frost does a number of farmhouse ales and very non-traditional beer
It's
styles.
interesting how regional is. I want to back up to Texas for a second, though. If you live in Texas, why would you need to Google Lone Star
Yeah,
beer?
it seems like it would be ubiquitous,
Because
right?
it's everywhere.
Yeah, you can get it anywhere you want.
Anyway, go ahead.
In Virginia, it's Virginia Beer Company, opened in 2016, which they say may explain why it's been searched so frequently for people trying to figure it out and find out about it. In Washington, it's Rainier. Rainier, like Mount Rainier?
Yeah.
Rainier beer. The first Rainier beer debuted in 1878 in Seattle, which makes it one of the country's oldest beers.
Wow.
That's very cool. In West Virginia, it's Blue Moon. And in Wisconsin, it's the New Glarus Brewing Company.
New Glarus is delicious.
Yeah. They are in New Glarus, Wisconsin. In Wyoming, Accomplice Beers, the Accomplice Beer Company in Cheyenne. They offer 14 beers on tap with fun names like the Roundhouse and Three Amigos. And that takes us through all 50 states. So any surprise? I think that the beer that appeared the most was Yuengling, probably followed by Corona and 805.
Bruce says, I used to get Pearl in Ohio years ago. When you open the bottle, there was a Rebus puzzle inside the cap, and we wouldn't drink until we solved the puzzle.
Oh, man. See, you don't want to delay that.
No, you need to drink while you're solving
Either that
puzzle.
or you're way better at solving
Lone
the
Star
puzzle
did
than I
that.
am. Yeah.
For a lot of years, you always had the puzzle in the cap.
I enjoy just looking at the words underneath the bottle caps of St. Arnold.
Yep.
Yeah,
They always
it's-
have
it's
some
always-
kind of funny phrase.
Yeah, it's always fun looking at what they do on there. All right, let's come back and let's do some bourbon and let's do some rum in the next segment because Alan brought this rum from Plantation.
Oh, yeah.
This is a Houston Bourbon Society pick. Is that right?
See, Docs doesn't even have to be here. He's representing.
Yeah. Well, when you have as many rums in your lineup as Doc's, how many did you say?
10 brand new
He's
ones.
putting 10 brand new rums into their lineup.
I bet none of them are any good.
So
I'm
right?
saying that strictly to. So when I first walked in, Docs goes, "That's a sexy bottle, Alan."
Yeah.
So I'm trying to offset his comment,
right, I gotcha.
equal
Well,
everything out.
he is the guy that's tweeting out cancel cruise. So,
Oh.
we gotta do something to bring him down to earth. All right, we'll take a break and we'll be right back. It's Smoking and Toasting. We're running long today, but hey, it's number 200. So
200.
fuck it. Yeah, baby.
That's what they need.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. It is Smoking and Toasting. It's show number 200. It's our happy birthday show, and it's our low-key birthday show. But we are thrilled to have been podcrashed by the one and only Alan Denny from Galveston Island Cigar Lounge. Alvin, I started to call you Alvin for some reason. I have no
Alvin.
idea why. Maybe it's the chunks in the beer that we had.
Alvin
We're not
and the
done
beer
drinking
chunks.
yet.
Alvin and the Beer Chunks. It's Smoking and Toasting, show number 200, and we are brought to you by MyCigarShirts.com. Check them out. Buy the shirts, MyCigarShirts.com, because cigars. So I wanted to mention, by the way, that Smoking and Toasting, absolutely, Ian and I say this all the time, and we have proof of it, that Smoking and Toasting, now at show number 200, this is a program that absolutely influences sales.
Yes.
Now, we often say this because when someone will come on and bring on maybe a particularly good beer or spirit or something, it influences sales because Ian and I will be stopping off somewhere on the way home from the show
And picking
to
up
buy
those
some
beers,
for
yes.
ourselves. But when we did our Zoom call last weekend on Saturday, I was really interested, and I want to point this out because, sponsors, we come bring it. We need you. Our listeners, who two of the ones that joined us for the Zoom call, had purchased really nice bottles of spirits because of hearing about them on the show. Our
Nice.
buddy Bruce in Michigan
Yep.
had gone and bought a bottle of the Flor de Caña 18 year.
The 12.
Oh, it was the 12.
The 12,
He
yeah.
said he looked for the 18. They didn't have it at the
Right.
shop where he went, so he wound up with the 12. And he opened it while we were doing the Zoom call and took his first drink of it and immediately told us that it was bad.
It was,
Yeah.
it was a bad thing.
It was bad because he liked it too much. That was fun. So there you go. There's a sale based on Smoking and Toasting. And then one of our other guests, Blake, came on and went on and on about how he'd already destroyed about a half a bottle of the gin that we had on last week's show. So I just wanted to pass along for the, because there it is. There's hard, fast evidence. Smoking and Toasting does influence the sales, even when it's not just me and Ian. So there you go. That's nice to know. Our show is show number 200. We will have drinking news coming up for you in just a few moments. I was wondering, Ian, if you had any thoughts or memories of past shows that kind of stand out to you as some of your particular favorite moments. Is there anything that comes to mind right away?
Oh, we've had a little bit of fun. Of course, the 100th episode.
Well, that was insane.
Was pretty amazing.
It was.
There was that
4.5 hours.
one time when Alan Denny was on the show.
That one time?
We've got
so I actually had thought about this a little bit, and I wanted to point out a couple things. First off, when we started this show, our idea was just to talk about this, and we put a little bit of planning into it, in that we said, let's do a show that's interesting enough to people that are in the industry. They have fun listening,
right?
But also down to earth and not so technical that if you've never listened to this or you're not in the industry,
if you're just somebody that likes
enjoy
cigars
what we're
or
talking
beer
about,
or
you'll
spirits,
get it.
right? Yeah.
So we're not just talking over your head, because some shows do that. Some shows just they go so deep into what they're talking about that it's hard for anybody not in the industry to get it. And we wanted to kind of strike that balance. We had a lot of fun with it. My favorite thing about this show, after 200 episodes, is the friends that we've made.
Oh, that's a really good point.
Like the fact that we have guys like Alan Denny who've been brought into my life, Chris Hart brought into my life, people like Liliana a couple weeks ago. She's
so great.
absolutely wonderful. Like, and every time I ever run into her, it's going to be like, hey, how you doing? I love that aspect of the show. And then in the whole cigar industry, how friendly everybody is. Right. There are tons of people that I've met through just cigars, and people that I've met through whiskey and through things like Glenfiddich Dave, like he's David Allardyce. What a wonderful person. Greg Dixakis. I mean, all these people that are so fun and wonderful to hang out with. And what's beautiful is, I get it. They're in the industry, and we don't see each other all the time. I'm busy doing what I do. You're busy doing what you do. But when we see each other, there's no time loss. It's like, hey, man, how you been?
Yeah.
What's going on?
Right.
Let's hang out. And I love that. I absolutely love that inclusiveness in not only the cigar but the drink industry, and that is my favorite part of what we do here.
I will tell you that you're absolutely right. So the friends that we've made in all of the
also
industries,
free cigars. I like that.
Yeah,
go ahead.
The friends we've made in all of the industries, and the friends we've made with listeners too.
Yeah.
When we were at the Houston Whiskey Social this last time.
What's that?
It's this thing.
It's a little
people who are in the know, go to the Houston Whiskey Social. But I remember meeting people there that were
complete strangers.
Complete strangers, except they listened to the show and talked about things that that
it was a
we'd
little
said
eye-opening, wasn't
it really was. It was the first time I'd really kind of experienced that in the context of the show. That it's like, wow, people actually make it a point to listen to this thing, or
I love that,
or to watch it, and it's very cool. So, but I was just thinking about one of my favorite moments happened right here in the studio when Ian and I were talking about cigars, and we were getting in maybe a little deep on the law or what was being passed or something, and our guest began to become a little bit bored. It was Mark Nichols, and he reached back, grabbed a can of beer, and shotgunned a beer behind us while we were trying to have this important cigar. We really should go back and find that footage, because that was really a golden moment. So I think of times like that. I think of the first time that Alan Pod crashed the show was a great moment.
Sometimes offhand comments too stick in my mind. We had Rio Brazos in the studio a month ago,
right?
And one of the things that he just randomly said, he goes, "Oh yeah, no, I hadn't heard of you guys, but our master distiller or our distiller listens to you all the time."
To think that
Like,
a master
he
distiller
just
is listening to us
randomly
all the time.
says this,
Yeah,
and it's no big deal to him, but like to me, that's like yes,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah, it's
I
kind
love
of a big deal.
It's those things are just super cool to me,
I love it.
So I'm gonna tell y'all my favorite.
While
of the show.
while you do, I want to start taking in the nose on this rum. Alan poured us this rum. This is a plantation rum, but it was a special. Was it a barrel pick by the Houston Bourbon Society?
Yeah, so
is
this
that right?
was a very special barrel pick by. I be honest, I can't remember who picked it. I'm sure Chris Hart had nothing to do with it.
I doubt
because
it, yeah.
No one even cares.
No one cares about that
No one
guy.
cares
Yeah.
about Chris
I'm
Hart.
sorry, who?
Exactly. But this was, it's a plantation Jamaica XO, picked by HBS. It's been out for a while now, and I seriously doubt you could find it anywhere.
That is funky.
Oh.
And rubbery.
Oh, it's funky.
It is
Oh, yeah.
super funky on the nose.
Oh, yeah. It's exactly what I
Super
said when I
funky
first
on the
tried it
nose.
the
And
first
I
time.
love a good funky rum. I
It
do.
is funky and rubbery, and I love it.
Yeah. But you were going to tell us
Oh,
about your
yeah.
favorite
So
moment?
I've actually had two. The first one was, God, we've got to be 5 years ago.
I just
now.
have to interrupt you. This is amazing.
Oh, it's
Yeah.
really good.
This
Just
rum
funky.
is fantastic. Okay,
The
go
cinnamon
ahead.
and brown sugar
Oh,
and
yeah.
raw turbinado on the end.
Starts with the funk and ends with the sweet. It's wonderful.
So, two of them. First one was 5 years ago,
Yeah.
give or take, and it was Whiskeys of the World. Y'all were there. Y'all were set up. First time I met y'all, we were doing a fill-in for Sirius because Sirius was selling to Casa de Monte Cristo, and they couldn't do the event. They couldn't do anything that could possibly hurt the
And you were with
sale.
another cigar store at the time,
That
correct?
shall not be named.
Yes. I knew you may notice I didn't say that.
Yeah, and so y'all asked me to come on, and we went on and we talked for 15 or 20 minutes, and it was great. And then y'all ended up coming to the store and doing a full episode there. It was a
Yes,
great time.
It was a blast.
That was great because I got to meet y'all for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
But my actual best one was how often do you get to watch a co-host of a major international podcast
Or us.
make goo-goo eyes at a cigar manufacturer owner by the name of Matt Booth?
Well, that
I
happened.
love that guy.
And we know
That happened.
there's some whiskey event we were at, and
some
I-
whiskey event.
Yeah, and I really thought Ian was just gonna grab him up and eat him like a. I mean, it was amazing, and I'm so glad I have that on video.
It really was a moment. You know, what is that old saying? One day you will see them across a crowded room, and you will know. I think Ian and Matt saw each other across. The
Oh, it was
crowded
great
room.
because Matt fed into it, and he
Yeah.
was right back to him,
Oh,
and
yeah.
it was hilarious.
Well, and Matt is such a crazy character.
Oh, yeah.
Anyway, he's just really an interesting dude, but yeah, he was digging Ian, and it looked like Ian was digging him too. It was one of those magical moments.
Matt's so fun.
He's a good guy.
He is. You're right. That was a great episode. We did record that segment at again at another Houston Whiskey Social. So we've had some really good times at those things. It's been the last time we were there. There was a
If I just didn't have trouble with the door guy there.
yeah. Well,
What happened?
remember there was the time they didn't have me on the guest list. Remember?
Yeah, that was
Yeah,
pretty funny.
that was very embarrassing.
Do you know how many people I have had difficulty with at my own event?
I get it.
Hey,
I
speaking,
totally
I
get it.
know we're like way early because it's still August.
Yes.
But do y'all think there's a chance for y'all's event again this year?
I don't know. We're kind of keeping it up in the air until we sort of figure out how these things, because and what he's talking about is the whiskey sniff.
Yeah.
And I just don't know. I mean, we'd love to do it, but I don't know if it makes sense to put people in
In
a
our
space
social
yet.
climate
Yeah,
right now,
yeah.
it's a little
we'll,
awkward.
We'll just continue to play
this
it by ear.
could be awkward. I'm throwing an idea out there for it.
Awkward's one of our favorite words
All right.
today.
So you set it up the same way that you've always done it. You know, what do y'all have? 8, 10, 12 brands out there? I can't remember. Some of the best people in the industry. Danielle's always there. Nick is there a lot. Some of the hopefully Jessica could make it this time. Jessica's setting up something. But anyway, what if you set
We
it
love
up?
it, some Jessica, by the way.
Oh, she's amazing. She's
Awesome.
been texting, and she does not like soggy cereal. What if you set it up the same way, but it was just the three of us? And it was just the three of us sampling, smoking, and tasting, and the reps catering to just the three of us.
You think we could get the reps to come out for just the three of us?
We
to
don't
smoke
tell
and drink? Oh, see, I love this.
We don't tell them at all.
Hey, Nick Telemannis won't care.
That's good. I like that. I
I just want to point out that Bruce Stark said no longer halfway to 200.
Yeah.
I just responded with halfway to 300.
Halfway to 400.
It works for me. It works for me. By the way, just wanted to pass this along because we just had these guys on the show, and we don't always, tell you about new releases from different beers or cigar companies. We could spend the whole show doing that, but I did want to pass this along because these guys were just on, and we love them. The Urban South Brewing guys. They have teamed up with Brutal Beer Works out of Dallas to release
brutal, dude.
Pillage, which is a new hazy IPA that is just hitting the market at the end of the month. So be on the lookout for that if you're
what
a hazy
brewery
IPA.
is that?
It's Urban South Brewing from here in Houston and Brutal Beer Works from the Dallas-Fort Worth area.
Brutal, dude.
Pillage.
Brutal, yeah. So just wanted to pass that along.
That's brutal, dude.
This rum is fantastic. I don't want to fail to pass along what I'm getting here. Super funky on
It's
the front.
hot, too.
It is hot, almost like that hot cinnamon. Do you ever have those cinnamon toothpicks? Do you ever have them? It reminds me of the flavor of that. It's just that kind of hot cinnamon, but it's not really a candy flavor. It's more like a hot cinnamon and then a little bit of the sugarcane turbinado
That
sweetness.
turbinado raw sugar finish on it is really doing it for me.
It is really
it's so
delicious.
nice. What's the ABV on that?
It's a 104.2.
Yeah, it's pretty hot.
Yeah.
Love that.
Well, Ian, we're going to do two spirits in this segment, so why don't you show the camera and crack open for us this bottle of the
this is a very
four-grain
strange thing for me is the fact that you brought in a bottle is not very strange. But the fact that I actually will have to
You're actually going to have to crack the seal
open
on
this
this bottle. Yeah, I know.
because usually you are kind and generous enough to take care of that for me so I don't have to deal with it.
So I can tell you why this happened. With everything that's been going on, as crazy as life has been over the past couple of weeks, I knew that you were bringing the beers in for today's show.
Beers.
So last week, before show number 199, halfway to 200, I took a trip to my Specs down in Midtown, Houston, and I thought I'd better go ahead and get spirits for number 199 and for 200. So for 199, I brought in the gin that we had last week.
That's why you were like, I got spirit. Yes, I do.
Yes, and because I had gone because usually the hardest time for me to resist opening up something that I've brought to bring in on the show is the day I bring it home, right? Because
you're like all of us. You're a kid with a new toy.
It's sitting there on the counter. I go, maybe I agonized over what to choose a little bit when I was in the store. So now I got it home. It's like, I got to try that. So what I did was I tried the gin and I put the whiskey away. And then something else got put in front of it. And I didn't really even think about it until I was getting ready for the show today. So yes, I have not tried this.
So what we have here,
excited about trying it for the first time.
AD Law's 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey. This bottled and bond offering of our signature AD Law's 4-grain straight bourbon whiskey meets the highest standards in quality in American whiskey. True to the Bottled and Bond Act of 1897, this bourbon is at least 4 years old, a product of a single season, a single distiller, and has been aged in our federally bonded warehouse its entire life. Bottled at 100 proof, I hope you enjoy its full body, layered complexity, and rich characteristics of all our American mother grains, a foundational whiskey that embodies our no shortcuts philosophy.
So I had it wrong earlier. I was saying 3 years, but I think it has to be four to be bottled and bond. So this is going to be interesting, and it'll be these guys again. I told you I was reading up on these guys on the web, and they're just getting huge reviews and accolades. But I was not able to see a review of this particular bottle because I think this just came out. So I didn't
trivia
find
question.
one. Yes.
How many bourbons in the United States are bottled in bond?
Does it take to change the light bulb? What?
Oh. I don't know. I could venture a guess. What, 100? I don't know.
All of them.
All of them.
They all have to be bonded now. They're all bonded warehouses.
Okay, but they don't necessarily meet all of the other requirements,
Well, and
for
that's
being able to
proof.
to say that they're bottled and
Proof
bond.
is
Right.
the only other one, I believe.
Yeah.
I'm sure Wade will correct me if I'm wrong.
I ran into Wade, by the way, when I was at Specs a few weeks ago.
Nice.
Yeah, I was. I think I was on the tequila aisle, so I was surprised to see him.
I got to see it was really exciting. Wade reached out to me a couple of weeks ago and said, "Hey, I'm going to come down and see the shop." He hadn't made because he lives up by you, so it's not an easy drive. And he's like, "You want to go grab lunch?" So I took him down to a locals place down there. We
Yeah.
went and had lunch. It was good to hang out and BS and
We need to get him on the show again.
Yeah, I think we do. Did you pour enough, Ian? Because nothing's been passed around. to
Oh,
me
I'm
yet.
I mean, I guess I poured enough for
Not
Alan.
enough for me.
Yeah,
Actually,
So, so this is the AD Laws 4-grain bottled and bond bourbon from Denver, Colorado.
Yeah, you
And-
can smell the rye right off the
boy,
top.
you really
of this
can.
big
And these
thing.
guys are really well known for their rye too. It's been
and wheat and cinnamon.
I'm really liking it on the nose. It's
What else are you getting on the nose of that?
all I get is rye. I'm
I
really
get
not
rye
getting-
and cinnamon and a little wheat in the back. Yeah, the rye is strong in this one.
doesn't that sound like something like something that Obi-Wan Kenobi would say?
I'm going to tell you
The rye is strong with this
the
one.
nose is very small compared to the taste.
I agree.
There's-
the taste
there-
is huge.
The taste is way bigger than the nose.
This
is to me.
reminds me a bit of the Iron Root Republic. Do you remember when we had
Oh,
those guys on their rye? Yeah, it
well,
reminds
sure.
me a little of that.
I love Marcia, the first lady of Texas bourbon. She's amazing.
They're so awesome.
oh, they're greatest. They're the
the family.
yeah. The whole family is great.
Wow.
This
What is your take, Ian?
is so good, and it's so delicate.
It is delicate, isn't it?
It's not what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah,
and
I
it's
was
taking me a
expecting
minute. It's so delicate. I'm kind of reeling from the rum that we had a moment ago. Still, it's not what I expected. I expected a little more robustness, but this is delicate and a beautiful. Like I haven't even sorted out the flavors yet.
Yeah, delicate's a great word, and I'm glad you didn't say smooth. It's not really smooth,
No.
and that's not a very
What
great
does smooth
descriptive
taste like?
word.
Right. For Wade Woodard,
exactly.
what does smooth taste like? I bet
Man,
this would-
so I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, you go ahead.
I like the malt in this is raw. Like it just surrounds the tongue, and it's so beautiful. Like it's not chocolatey, but malt is a little chocolatey-ish.
Right, I
if
know
you're
what you're
not
talking
familiar
about.
with malt,
Right,
but
well,
it's-
Malted, like a
right.
malted.
Yeah,
yeah. So it's like the inside of that Whopper.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
the malt.
yeah.
And that just surrounds the tongue, like that whole flavor profile right there. And then you've got this super spicy rye that rides the entire top of the palate while that's happening. And then you've got this fresh wheat kind of thing going on right underneath the rye. And then the whiskey hugs comes back, and it is present.
It is a really multi-step tasting that you get with this thing. You know, you get the first flavors on the palate, and then you get that sort of mid flavor on the palate, and then you get the finish, and then you get the whiskey hug. It's like it just progresses in stages. It feels like, with you kind of getting something a little bit different in every stage. It very much is a rye. You were talking about how on the nose it's like you were getting all rye.
Yeah.
That flavor is there, but it is wrapped around a lot of other really complex flavors.
Oak.
Oak, yes.
The oak is way more subtle in this, but very present. It's not as astringent as you're used to getting in a lot of these.
And I'm
It's-
getting little bits of cinnamon.
yeah, I can go with cinnamon.
Little bits of, but wow, you can almost taste the. I'm not even sure the word that I'm looking for, but that rye flavor just kind of weaves through the other flavors that are there instead of dominating them.
You know what it doesn't do that I kind of expected it to do is it doesn't vanilla a lot.
Correct. Correct. And
That's not-
I usually like that flavor, but this doesn't
This just
really
doesn't
go
have
there.
it. It's not that
Yeah.
it's a bad thing. It just doesn't have,
Right.
and it's what I expected to taste. So it's something I was tasting for, but it's very much not really there.
We had the vanilla on that beer earlier, but
Yeah,
I would love to know the mash bill for this to see what
it's
it is
so
for the different grains.
interesting. What are you tasting on it?
I think I can. I think
So,
I can pull it up for you.
You said big rye earlier.
Yeah, I'm getting big rye mixed with, like, I don't get the normal notes you get with corn. I'm not getting that heavy sweetness. I'm not getting that caramel.
It's way more delicate.
Yeah,
than that.
I'm getting more rye and the whoppers that you were talking about. I'm getting the malt and I'm getting the rye. I'm not getting anything else off of it. And I'm curious if they're corn, rye, malted barley, and I would assume either wheat or sorghum. We don't, it just says 4. It doesn't say which ones. I looked.
I mean, I taste wheat, so I'm going to go ahead and lean that this is definitely wheated. Because it feels like that's, I taste that kind of fresh raw. You ever been in a wheat field?
Yeah, and
That
wheat is usually will
smell.
make
60% corn, 20% heirloom wheat, 10% heirloom rye, and 10% heirloom malted barley.
It's amazing that
Yeah.
that 10% rye is so present.
Mm-hmm. But it's 60% corn.
Yeah.
So you do get the corn, but it's
It's
not
sweet.
overwhelmingly corn.
But it is sweet. It's not it doesn't taste like a standard corn whiskey sweetness, but it is sweet like a corn whiskey.
Yeah.
Charred oak barrels and
God,
up
the
to 4
cinnamon, like
years.
after you taste it a
Yes,
little
that's
bit.
what I was saying
and then
earlier, the
smell it,
cinnamon kinda comes back
pops
to you.
on the nose now.
It's a very, very complex whiskey. It's really more so than some that we've had that have been very, very good, but were more straightforward. There's a lot going on here.
Hey, I'm just glad they're distilling it themselves and it's not some MGP product.
Yeah. I'm telling you, it's good. It's very, very good.
This is bottled at 50%, by the way, so
Okay.
a little hot, but not super hot. But the whiskey hug in this is actually very present as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just not unpleasant. It's not harsh. It's not. It's very nice.
When we return from this break,
And we drink some more of this.
we will drink some more of this, and we will also drink. How many beers do you have left? Do you have 2? Or 1? I don't remember now.
2.
All right, so 2 more beers in our final segment. Plus, we'll bring you drinking news and try to put some sort of orderly end to this.
Drinking news.
Yeah, see, you're totally doing the jingle today. Come on, you were just doing it. There's
Come
no
on,
reason.
sing.
No
That's
reason
just
to
a
get.
stinger.
No reason to get
That's
shy
just a stinger.
on me
That's
now.
just that's
All right, just smoking and toasting. We'll be back with drinking news
Drinking
and
news.
Ian's jingle next. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. We have show number 200 going on here, and we're brought to you by
halfway to 300.
the fine folks at mycigarshirts.com. Check them out online. Buy yourself a cigar shirt or 2 or 3 or 4, because when you do, you are supporting Smoking and Toasting.
Where we answer the
appreciate
question.
it. Yes.
Have you been drinking?
Yeah.
And the answer is
the answer is
yes.
always yes. Yeah. I was going to the site for drinking news and was distracted.
Drinking news.
Hang on, you'll have your moment. I was distracted by a headline that popped up on the side of the story that I was getting ready to share in Drinking News. The headline on the side, I just have to read you the headline, that's all. R. Kelly attacked in jail. I just wanted to share that.
I'm not upset by that.
No,
Just
I'm
saying.
not upset at all. I would be surprised if he wasn't attacked in jail.
Right?
But anyway, enough of that. It's time, ladies and gentlemen, for the feature of this program we like to call Drinking News.
Drinking news. Drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
See how easy that was? All you have to do is like put a little guitar behind it, maybe some,
Now I feel
Some
like your
bass?
puppet. You're like, dance, marionette.
dance, monkey, dance. Drinking News is a segment on the program where we like to pass along a news story that may or may not be about drinking or alcohol or something that you would consume.
Do I need to get a beer ready for this?
You really do. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like we haven't been drinking, but this is not only.
Alan hasn't been drinking.
No, not at all.
No.
This story will not only be something that might or might not be about drinking, but is always perhaps best to hear or read about when you have been drinking. And so that's what drinking news is all about. A Canadian brewery and brand of beer and a leather company have found themselves in the crosshairs of New Zealanders after accidentally naming a product, which was a particular beer, and a business, which is the leather company, a word that translates to pubic hair in the native New Zealand language. Both the Canadian brewery Hell's Basement, as well as the New Zealand Leather Company in Wellington, use the word huru huru, which from the island's indigenous language from the Maori means pubic hair. Some people call it appreciation. I call it appropriation, a TV personality and Maori advocate said in a Facebook video posted earlier this month. And if you're selling leather, call it leather. Don't call it pubic hair unless you are selling pubic hair, and don't call beer pubic hair unless you make it with pubic hair.
All right, I have a question about this.
Yes.
What did they think the word meant when they named it that?
I'm not sure, but we have actually a photo of the cans of beer from Hell's Basement. Adam, have you put that up yet, or is it's up? Yeah. So you can see the huru huru cans.
Well, I'm just going to point out
there's no hair on the can.
there's different, like you can use a word like, okay, in America, if you say the word fanny, that means one thing. It's not even a bad word, right?
Mm-hmm.
In England, I was just talking about a very private part of a woman.
Right. It's not
It's a very different thing, okay?
Right.
And just the same word. So we use it very innocent, and we might talk about, whatever. We have fanny packs and those kind of things. And can you imagine how many people in England are snickering about that?
In the U.S., if you use the C word, it's like one of the most insulting words that you can say about a woman. In New England, they kind of say it the way we would say you're being a dick.
What's the C word? I don't understand.
You know what the C word.
Well,
See you
what do you
next
mean?
Tuesday.
Cat?
Cat, that's it.
Carbuncle? What's
Keep going. I can wait.
obviously you're
Cracker.
not charcoal?
Well, not being British, see, that seems like a very harsh word to say, especially on a show like
Right,
this.
so it's
But in Britain, they say it the way when we go. If I'd say to Alan, "Dude, don't be a dick," it's that casual, you know.
Yeah. So let me ask
you
you
use
this.
the D word.
Yeah. Well, see, but that's not that big a deal.
So Canada for a lot.
I
of
meant
the part-
Denny. Alan. Denny.
Oh, Denny. Yes, that's the D word.
Yeah, I'm a dick. Detective. So is it possible that word in French or some other language means something else?
I don't know. The leather company said they actually thought that the word meant feather, and that's what they were getting.
It kind
at
of
with
sounds
huru
like
huru.
the sound you make if you get a hair stuck in your throat.
So
though.
why
Like,
would
say
Okay, I'm all good with that until you think, why would a leather company want to do anything feather?
Well, here's what the representative of the Maori people said. He said, "You fellas need to know that when the Maori look at the name of the store, they're not going to see feather; they're going to see pubes." There's something about just like saying it like that that I find funny.
I mean, maybe they should just own it and be like, "We are pubic hair."
Yeah, and no one's going to go into your store and buy pubes. He said.
We don't shave.
I want to point out. Okay, so we were talking earlier about our favorite parts of the show.
Yeah.
I know I'm doing something right when I hear Adam giggle in the corner.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Because he's like, I worked a radio morning show a number of years ago with this woman that did the traffic reports and was a member of the show, and it was very difficult to make her laugh, but if you did, it was a touchdown because her laugh was so contagious and so you knew you'd scored when you made Linda laugh. Yeah, that's
kind of how
part
I
of my
feel
path.
over
Yeah,
here. Like,
exactly. By the way, this is the single best line and the whole reason to share the huru huru pubic hair story with you. The representative of the Maori people said, "No Maori is going to go into your store to buy pubes." And here's the line I love: "Why buy pubes when you can get your own pubes for free?" This line is in this news story.
I mean, he has a valid point.
It's from a
there
from a
is-
legitimate news source. Well, maybe not. It's Fox News, but it's from an established news source. Alan's biting his tongue. I love that.
Bruce said, "I thought the C word was cruise."
Yeah, apparently, and or cancel cruise.
Hashtag
Perhaps.
cancel
Hashtag
cruise.
cancel cruise is what we got going on. Anyway, so I'm just messing with you guys, but that is a real story found on a real, and that's part of the thing for drinking news. It has to be a story that's been published somewhere that's not called the National Enquirer. So that's about as high as we're willing to set
Hey,
the
you know,
bar.
there is actually some good drinking news that came out this week
Yeah,
about bars.
yeah.
They can now reopen if they serve food even from a food truck.
And this is Texas, right?
Yeah.
in Texas. So this is good. I mean,
Did
listen,
St. Arnold beat them down on that? Because
I hope so
Probably.
because
that really like St. Arnold was very upset about that, and they should have
was
been. Yeah,
it was interesting what Lenny from St. Arnold said when he was on the show.
Yeah.
He said it's not like we're making any real money with our beer garden.
No,
selling
they're
beer
trying to
and
make
food.
their
We're trying to
employees-
keep our people employed. You know.
employed.
Well, the problem is what we've. I was listening to some stuff on the way up here, and it's the loans are running out. The unemployment excess is running out. It's fixing to get hard for people if
Right.
people aren't back
If they
to
can't
work.
go back to work. Yeah. But you know what disturbs me though is that I'm starting to see people get really sloppy. Lots of masks down on the chin. You know, lots of people not still
the mask-
taking the whole thing.
The mask
seriously.
under the nose.
Mm-hmm. We talked about that. on the show.
WTF, people?
Yeah. Might as well leave it at home. You know, might as well leave it
Like
at
you
home.
might as well, if you're gonna wear your mask under your nose, why don't you just strap it to your ears and put it straight over your head?
I wear mine as a thong.
Yeah. there
Yeah,
you go.
or wear it as a thong.
Did you
Hey,
hear
I'm
about the
wearing a
dude who
mask.
was wearing the thong as a mask? I thought that was a
I
pretty
would do
awesome
that.
story. Yeah.
I thought about that for half a minute today.
Yeah.
When I was coming up here.
Oh, I think about that pretty much every day. But I digress.
Just make sure that when
let's-
you're wearing a mask that
Yeah.
you cut a hole in it so you can easily use a straw for your drink.
That's absolutely right.
because that makes it easier.
Speaking of drink, Ian, what is this delicious liquid you have poured for us?
What you are drinking here now is the Divine Reserve 15.
I like this even better than the last one.
Even more betterer.
Even more betterer indeed. This is really wonderful. Now, for those who aren't familiar with St. Arnold Brewery here in our hometown of Houston, they're not doing this currently, but for a long time they would release a special limited beer, Divine Reserve. What they do about 4 times a year, Ian? Is that what they did?
Divine Reserve was once a year.
Was only once a year, really?
Bourbon barrel
Bishop's Barrel.
Bishop's Barrel was I think a couple times a year.
When they would release the new Divine Reserve for a long
Lines.
time, it was so limited that people would line up outside the stores where it was going to be sold.
It was limited.
and wait for the doors to open.
It was
at 10
limited
a.m.
because they had no idea how popular it would be. And
Mm-hmm.
so what they did, the Divine Reserve was always something that was a very interesting beer that they didn't normally make.
right, not part of their normal lineup.
And then
so-
they would barrel age it
Mhm.
and it became a thing, where
This
like
is-
that was
this is delicious.
this is a Russian Imperial Stout.
It's my favorite of the darker beers we've tried today.
Mm-hmm. It was the Divine Reserve was inspired by the winning entry of the 2007 Big Batch Brew Bash homebrew competition brewed by Mike Hennef, a highly decorated local Houston homebrewer. Russian Imperial Stouts are very big, very black, and this is no exception. It was first brewed as DR5. DR15 has a rich malty body full of coffee and chocolate flavors and a spiciness derived from the combination of hops and high alcohol. It was brewed with a variety of malts, including two-row crystal, chocolate, and roasted barley. I just want to point out, this came out in 2015, so this has been 5 years cellaring.
wow.
And it has stood up to the cellaring. There is not even a remote chance of soy sauce on this. It is
No,
absolutely,
right. It's terrific.
Yeah.
absolutely amazing, and black as night, and beautiful, and low carb. That's carbonation, not
Yeah, right.
carbohydrates.
Oh, I
No,
thought
it
it
is-
was low carbs. I thought it was
Yeah,
diet
this
beer.
is a low carb beer. No, that's not what I mean.
It does have extra gluten though. So you can count on that. I think this is delicious. This is my favorite of the beers we've tried today.
They freed all the glutens in this. They're all in there.
And next thing you're going to tell me it has lactose and extra soy in it.
Yeah, well, maybe so. It could.
It is outstanding, though.
That's great.
The bitterness
Mm-hmm.
that is inherent in the tail end of this is also just curtailed by the sweetness of the malt that rolls over the tongue. This finishes in such a wonderfully delicious way, and then leaves you with just a kiss of that oak astringency on the end.
This is what you want your stout to taste like. I mean, it really is. It's like this should be the benchmark for all stouts.
This is a pinnacle of style.
Fantastic.
Goose Island would be proud of this.
Yes, they would,
like,
and
what
they
the
make
hell?
a fantastic stout. They sure do. While you are preparing our final beer for the show, Ian, let me pass along to you the International Wines and Spirits Competition has named the top 5 American rye whiskeys. And since we had such a good rye on today's show, I thought this would be a good list to take a look at. Rye, of course, is one of those things that is quintessentially American. There's when a lot of people think whiskey, the first thing they think of is Scotland and Scotch and the impact that Scotch whiskey has had on the spirit world over the years. But
You cannot
rye,
see through any of my beers. I'm
no,
sorry.
no,
Go ahead.
absolutely not.
True.
They are opaque. Is that the right word? I always get opaque and the other word confused.
What's the other word?
I don't remember. Come on, he's bringing like
Translucent would be the other word.
translucent. Thank you.
No, these are
Thank you.
definitely opaque versus translucent.
Okay, well, he's you got to forgive me. Ian's bringing all high ABV stuff, and then we did bottled and bond and rye, so I'm not going to remember words like translucent off the top of my head.
I'm not going to remember words. You
So-
could have stopped this sentence right there.
So rye is a quintessentially an American spirit. The tradition is pretty deeply woven into the fabric of American history, and now they have named for us the top 5 American ryes. Old Forester Distilling Company's Straight Rye Whiskey.
Yeah.
And it tied with runner-up James E. Pepper Distilling Barrel Proof Straight Rye Whiskey. Have you seen or had the James E. Pepper, Ian? Because
No, I haven't.
That's you have had it. Really, is it good?
No.
No,
No.
really.
It's hot. It's not good.
Wow, that's so interesting.
Did you say it's hot?
Yeah, it's like a high rye, in my opinion. I don't like it at all.
Wow.
Are you generally a fan of rye though? You are,
Yeah, I
aren't you?
like
Yeah.
rye. Yeah.
Okay.
Ooh.
So if a rye is bad, it has to be really bad for me not to like it.
Yeah. Wow. That's got to be like bad crackers or something, like
Yeah.
stale crackers or something.
Yeah, it's like eating a saltine without salt.
America's oldest
Ugh.
continuously produced brand of rye makes the list. The Old Overholt Bottle and Bond.
That's a good one.
That's a good one.
I
Okay.
know I've had that.
And then they mention Rocktown Distillery, Arkansas Straight Rye Whiskey at 46% ABV.
Never even heard of it.
Yeah, that makes
No
the list.
idea.
They're in Little Rock. It's an artisan craft distillery, the first distillery in Arkansas since Prohibition,
Road trip.
and it prides
Oh,
itself
yeah.
as a true grain to glass distiller. All the
I need to
cereals
spend a
in the
little time in
mash bill.
Bentonville anyway, so let's do that road trip.
So
Why?
That is like the mountain bike mecca.
Oh, I thought you want to hang out at Walmart.
You just want to go to the Walmart corporate
Walmart
headquarters.
has actually created a mountain bike mecca. So
I believe it.
One of the sons was into mountain biking. You can literally get a hotel or a bed and breakfast in town and ride your bike out the front door and hit the trails that are world class and amazing.
We go out there. You can.
They
do,
start in town. Like the whole town is riddled with mountain bike trails.
You can do the bike trails. I'll do the bathhouses. We're good.
I'm down with that.
Finally, the High West Whiskey Rendezvous Rye makes the
Shit, yeah.
list. Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's all.
There's a couple more that
All right,
I think are a
so
lot
I have a
better.
question for you guys. How much coffee can you put in a stout?
It's
I don't know, there was-
all of it.
There
apparently
was
in
there
this.
was quite a bit in the last one. I
No.
haven't gone to
Wait
this
till
one.
this.
And this one again is
This is the
brash?
Brash Cortado Imperial Coffee Stout. And this answers the question. How much coffee can you actually fit into a stout?
all of it.
so we have answered the question: how much coffee can you fit into a stout? And we've come close, but I don't think we've actually answered the question: what do you do with the drunken sailor?
Well, there's rum here.
Yeah, that's That's why I'm saying it could be here on show number 200.
I mean, I'm not working
that
on
we're
the rest
able
of the afternoon.
that
so.
we're able to answer both of those questions.
Your words are difficult.
They are. Well, it's a long show,
He's
and
nowhere near as think as we drunk he is.
your ABV has played on my.
What is the
senses,
ABV
sir.
on this?
A lot. This one doesn't even say it on there. I'm pretty sure maybe they're just like it's brash, but maybe they're even embarrassed about it. I don't know. I'm going to guess this one at about 10 to 11.
What's the name of the beer again?
This is the Cortado by Brash.
I will look it up.
Cortado, Cortado.
This is good.
It
Yeah,
is
it's
really
real good.
delicious.
But a
isn't it?
stout hat for me.
If you
not
like,
to like,
here's the deal. If you're one of these people that likes black coffee, and I'm a black coffee drinker, like your coffee has to be decent, and I like it black. Because if I have to add a bunch of stuff to coffee
It's
to
not
make it
good.
palatable, it's sucky coffee. Okay, so I drink black coffee. I like decent coffee. This is for guys like me that like black coffee, and it's delicious.
Beer Advocate and Untapped both say it's 10%.
Yeah, so
So
it's pretty. So this is actually the lowest ABV I brought today.
No, it's not.
oh well, the
That's
Oktoberfest.
show beer. That
was a
doesn't
show
count.
beer, so, yeah.
That's only 6.6%.
We actually said, Alan, at the beginning of the show that this will be the lowest ABV beer we have today. So.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that because I was probably walking into the building. at the
Yes,
time.
yes, getting ready to podcast.
I did listen to the whole first session standing outside the door.
Well, that's good to
Waiting
know,
for Donna.
and thank you for that. We appreciate
We
it.
wanted to have fun and surprise you on that.
I've been sufficiently surprised, and I have
This
had
this
a great
happened
time.
over a cigar at his shop where I looked at him and said, "Now, if you wanted to come crash,
Yeah, yeah.
I specifically asked, so because after listening last week, 199,
Mm-hmm.
and then I said, "So what are y'all doing for 200?" And he goes, "I think it's just me and Cruz. I should pod crash." Well,
Yeah.
you're always welcome. Hold on, my part-time guy's coming in. Let me talk to him. And he
Alan,
can come in at 12.
we mentioned a couple of weeks ago that people could vote for you in the big contest.
Yeah, the
going
Galveston
on.
Daily News,
for Galveston Daily
best cigar
News.
shop in Galveston.
So is that we talked about this on the Zoom call, but just to confirm, is that still going on? Can
As
people
far as
still
I
vote for you?
know.
All right, so we want to encourage all of our smoking and toasting people, and we know
We'll add
Bruce
a
in
link.
Michigan did it. Yeah, we'll add a link, but to go to what is the website
It's
for
the
the
Galveston Daily News, and it's so Galveston Daily News, kind of how the Houston Press used to do
Mhm.
best
Yeah, right,
restaurant,
favorite
best
cigar
bar.
shop,
yeah,
best
exactly.
whatever. Yeah.
So they do it. We're under retail and favorite cigar shop.
All right. Well, go and vote for our buddy. It's
I want to take just a second, especially since it's our 200th episode, Mr. Adam.
Hey, little feller.
What is your favorite beer of the day?
of the day from today. Of all the ones that we've had, what would you say, Adam?
The first one, what's that? Something Bacher?
The Weyerbacher?
Oh, the Weyerbacher,
The
the
Weyerbacher
very
was
fruity,
was my favorite.
You're not a stout guy, though, are
the
you?
Weyerbacher Quad.
I'm an everything kind of guy,
Oh,
Mm-hmm. Well,
if you know what I
He's
mean.
very
I
versatile.
do. We'll talk after the show.
Thorough.
Really, Ian, every one of these was really spectacular.
So
I just want to point out, I brought one of my absolute favorite of all time is the Weyerbacher Quad. Like, I think that
what is that? Is that Adams? No, this.
that's yours, right?
I just drank mine.
and you put one up here that I took. Was that one supposed
Yeah, I
to be
gave
for
that
Adam?
to you. Adam, I didn't give you this one.
Well, then he based his favorite on incomplete information.
Minus
so-
one. Okay.
Yeah.
But I brought, so first off, very much everything here is in the style that I love.
Mm-hmm.
Out of today's beers, I love the Belgium quadruples. Like, these are one of my absolute favorite style beers. So
Right.
I love these, and they're dear to my heart, and they're delicious. The stouts, I love a stout that's not just a stout. I love a stout that's interesting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I'm okay with a stout that's just a stout. I'd drink it, but I like something interesting, and I like what all these bring to stout.
My favorite of the outlay of beers that you brought in today was the second St. Arnold that we had. So that was the one that was the 15.
The Russian Imperial Stout.
Russian Imperial
barrel-aged,
Stout.
Yeah.
That was just a really
It's a
incredibly
great
well balanced and wonderful stout. Yeah. you have a favorite, Al?
Yeah, up until I was a huge fan of the vanilla bean, but I'm a coffee guy and I'm a beer guy, and that Cortado was absolutely amazing.
It's really good.
That's the brash.
Yes.
Well, I want to take a moment, Alan. You know, we joke a lot about you pod crashing the show and and the fact that nobody cares about you and all of that kind of stuff.
Like I give a shit.
But I just want to take a minute and thank you. You've been a huge supporter of the show. You've introduced us to a number of people who wound up being great guests on the program.
You have been absolute clutch.
Yeah, you really have. And this is a good time.
Show.
This is a good time here on show number 200 to thank you. No, seriously. Like,
I'm no Chris Hart. Bullshit. I'm better than any fucking Chris Hart.
And there you have it, people. Can you think of a better way to end show number 200 than that? That is just awesome. Seriously, Alan, thank you for all that you've done to help this show.
Love you guys.
We love and appreciate you, and I got to get back down to your shop and do some shopping because it's time to restock.
Hopefully,
the
y'all come
humidors.
down and do another show.
It's about time to figure out doing that. You know, the thing that has stopped us from doing on-location shows has been when we go on location, we have a tendency to have one camera. And with one camera, it's harder to distance and not have it just look like a big cavernous room.
But it just occurred
Or
to me that he
patio.
has that space by the fireplace that's almost distanced perfectly if we back the camera up a little bit.
Yep.
So let's play with that idea.
All right. I like the idea of
If
heading
Jesse
back to
could've come
Galveston.
down and-
Yeah, I like the idea of heading back to Galveston and being able to smoke while we do the show because it's been a while.
Yeah.
It really has. Want to say thank you to a couple of people, to Adam, of course, our producer on the Wheels of Steel, who has impeccable beer taste, but also does a great job putting the show together and never, ever tells us when we come in, I didn't post last week. That's it's just the little things that we appreciate. I also want to say thanks to Mary Adams, who does the booking for the show, who has
she's a
kept us
beautiful
in,
lady.
She's
kept us
amazing.
in wonderful company for 200 episodes, and it's been a wonderful thing for us to be a part of. Ian,
Also, she introduced us.
that's true. Ian,
makes her a total
she is the
badass.
person, and that's my wife, and she introduced us, and so there you go. A show was born, and 200 episodes later, no one has stepped in to try to stop us.
Nobody has tried to
Real
stop
quick
us.
before we go, and I'd also like to say a thanks to Donna McKenzie for her ad in Houston.
He's been fixated on meeting Donna McKenzie.
Such a
who's-
I got
Donna
you last
McKenzie
time I was here.
fanboy.
She's a great.
That's right.
You know, I am a huge.
She's a
fan.
Houston icon, though.
She is. She is. I'm a huge fan of a lot of the rock and roll radio that we've had in Houston, KLOL and 107.5. Well, it's now 94.5 The Buzz,
Yeah,
but
back in the day,
back
yes.
in the day, it was
Yeah.
107. I was at the very first Buzz Fest. I will never forget that. But
Yes. Some of
great
those were
times
great
and some of the
times, yeah.
greatest DJs
Well,
that have ever been in morning radio.
back when that was meaningful, back when that meant something.
True.
Not so much today, but these days you can find cool podcasts and hang out with people like me
Yeah.
and Ian. So it's a decent change up. Thank you most of all, though, to every one of you guys who listen to the show, whether you're an occasional listener or a regular. We appreciate you listening, watching, and kind of keeping this going just enough that we can justify getting together to smoke and drink on a regular basis. That's what it's all about. People asked us when we started the show, what made you want to do this? And our answer was very simple. Samples. Yeah, and it continues to be the case today. But we do have a blast doing this, and thank you for listening. Have a great week, my friends. We will talk to you once again for number 201 next week. Oh, Chris Morris is our guest next week.
Yay!
Yes, we
We
finally
haven't
got him.
seen him. He hasn't been on the show since the 100th episode.
I think that's right.
How much is he paying y'all?
He
to
is
be
our
on?
guest. Quite a bit of money.
Since the 100th
Yeah.
episode,
Quite
he
a
hasn't
bit of
been
money.
on.
So we got to decide what it is we want him to
That's
do. I mean,
almost 2
he can make
years.
drinks. He can. I don't know what company he gets fired so often. I have no idea who he's working for now. But he is.
He is so.
He is so awesome. We can't wait to have him on the show next week. So, Chris, we're looking forward to it. We'll figure out what to talk about and have a wonderful week, everybody. Thank you for being here for 199 shows plus the missing one. Woo! Cheers.
helmet. I watched him. Oh, he almost totally lost.